Happy Saturday. Happy middle of your weekend. Happy October 14th, 2023. Got the door open despite the mosquitoes biting the shit out of me all day. Sorry for the lateness, but had a customer and had to go get my food before Sister Kim's closed. And you guys will be seeing what that looks like because she gave me a lot. When you go to Sister Kim's, be right as they're about to close. You know, some of that leftover food, you got to be there at the right time. Oh, welcome to our anchor show. Welcome to the Sci-Fi Center Saturday overnight live edition. We got a lot to talk about. Despite talking a lot this week, the news just keeps piling on our topics that we're going to discuss. Just like the thumbnail says, we're going to start off with this strike bullshit. We're going to get that right out the way as soon as I bring Brad on. Our story of the week, comic book wise, is Xmen Days of Future Past, the actual comic itself. Our influential album is Weezer's Blue Album, their debut album, probably one of the best albums released in that period, if not, in the top three. We're going to talk the death of physical media as Best Buy has decided they are no longer going to carry physical media, and they made up for 43% of the physical media market, which is kind of crazy. We're also going to talk New York Comic Con, a couple big things. We're not going to break down an entire show because there was a lot that went down, but some of the major stuff that Marvel put out, that DC put out. Mainly, we're going to be talking on the Elsewolrds imprint being renewed, and we'll go into a separate Elsewolrds historical Elsewolrds conversation, and then like things like follow-up X, stuff like that. So, and if you guys got anything if you guys are in the East Coast and you want to bring something up, that's okay as well. What else do we got? And that is pretty much it. And that I eliminated a topic space so that we can bring in some people in the chat room later on after we wind down the show, or when we're about to wind down the show. So up late past his bedtime is Brad. How are you doing?
Awesome, especially after all the fun we had in the Patreon stream today.
Yeah, the Patreon streams I really enjoy those.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, it's nice, with our growing audience, to bring people on, just kind of shoot the shit about especially with how the craziness of the topics we'll be discussing tonight.
Yeah, and I saved RJ's fingers because he didn't have to type.
Yeah,
the entire book. And apparently I do soliloquies, but you know what? That's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the Patreon streams. Like I said, I usually only plan for them to last like 45 minutes to an hour or so. But as usual, we get with where the conversation takes us. So right off the bat, I'm not pulling up any strike articles. I'm just going to let you tell us where we're at. Nonsense and just
yeah, where to start with it. I mean, we did kind of get into a little bit. I think it was because we had a couple of streams we were breaking the stuff down. I think it was Wednesday when it went. I think it was Wednesday we were reading off like their response via Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull that up again. The SAG after.
What they send it to me in the chat or put it in the private chat. I'll post it.
Yeah, sure. I'll go ahead and let me get that.
I just didn't know which one you wanted because there's just so much shit. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the long story short, everybody who's not up to speed is that the strike isn't over, to put it gently.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Here it is. I'm going to post this in the chat here, or no, I'll DM you on Twitter.
Yeah, put it in the secret one, not the secret chat, the private chat. Like we're CIA.
Okay. I just DM that to you.
Okay. All right.
But yes, the long and the short of it is that they had everybody not fully up to speed. Is that after the WGA strike wrapped up recently, SAG and AMPTP, or Armpit as William likes to affectionately call them, maybe more deservingly so after this last round of negotiations.
It's too many letters. It's too many letters.
So they started negotiating with a SAG, for a new contract to end the strike, and it was I believe it was Wednesday. When we were talking, then that was the last round of the negotiation they had, and SAG and AMPTP came out of that and said, "Yep, we couldn't make an agreement, so we're back at it." And this is actually the statement that SAG after put out on Twitter that evening when we were actually wrapping up that stream. So if you got the whole thing up, I can go ahead and read it off if you want to do that.
Yeah, what did you send me? Do I not have the whole thing? Let's hold on.
Well, you should you should be able to just pull up the whole thread there.
Oops.
Yeah, because they put up like those little red things like every other tweet on it. I'll go ahead and read it off. So, to our fellow SAG after members, it is with profound disappointment that we report the industry CEOs have walked away from the bargaining table after refusing to counter our latest offer. We have negotiated with them in good faith, despite the fact that last week they presented us an offer that was shockingly worth less than they proposed before the strike. Right off the bat, that tells you this did not go well. And then the next portion of it, these companies refuse to protect performers from being replaced by AI, which, as everybody knows, that's one of the major issues for both SAG and WGA in the strike. They refuse to increase your wages to keep up with inflation, and they refuse to share a tiny portion of the immense revenue your work generates for them, which, as an aside, that was one of the conditions they had put, SAG had put to the AMPTP, was that they wanted to have a 2% streaming revenue share. So like they would take like a 2% cut, which, I mean, how is that not reasonable? But so and continued, we have made big, meaningful counters to our end, including completely transforming our revenue share proposal, which would cost the companies less than 57 cents per subscriber each year. They have rejected our proposals and refused to counter. Instead, they use this is where it gets a lot more heated. Instead, they use bully tactics. Just tonight, they intentionally misrepresented to the press the cost of the above proposal, overstating it by 60%. Now, to give some context there, something AMPTP had said, in their statement after the negotiations had fallen through, I believe this was in reference to the 2% share, revenue share proposal. Their counter was that would cost us something like $800 million annually. And SAG is saying they overstated that by 60%. I went ahead and did the math on that, which is not a subject I'm adept at it by any strength. My strength is with the written word, but I can navigate percentages here and there. And you being a business owner, you could probably do this a lot better than I can. But kind of running the math on that they're saying basically that it would actually cost about $320 million annually. What they're
instead
proposing.
of the $800 million.
Yeah. So
well, you also got a budget beyond that because the studios lie. I mean, I've been saying that since day one.
Yeah,
the studios lie, and then there's like I said, I don't know how extreme the request is, but when I know that one side will do anything to keep you from ever seeing the basis of what their rejections are, I can't really trust them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How are you going to tell me that that's going to hurt you when I don't know what hurting you means because you're not giving me any real basis? So yeah.
So to continue from that part of it, so they have done the same with AI, claiming to protect performer consent by continuing to demand "quote unquote" consent on the first day of employment for use of a performer's digital replica for an entire cinematic universe or any franchise project. The companies are using the same failed strategy they tried to inflict on the WGA, putting out misleading information in an attempt to fool our members into abandoning our solidarity and putting pressure on our negotiators. But just like the writers, our members are smarter than that and will not be fooled. We feel the pain these companies have inflicted on our members, our strike captains, IATSA, Teamsters, and Basic Crafts union members, and everyone in this industry. We have sacrificed too much to capitulate to their stonewalling and greed. We stand united and ready to negotiate today, tomorrow, and every day. Our resolve is unwavering. Join us on picket lines and solidarity events around the country and let your voices be heard one day longer, one day stronger, as long as it takes. So pretty definitive. Now I do also want another thing to follow up with that is they all those unions they listed there, along with SAG, they put out another statement, I believe it was yesterday, where basically said, yeah, AMPTP, let's get back at this right now. They're saying we want to negotiate right now. Thus far, no response. I would not expect one after the that back and forth, but
not one you want to hear.
Oh hell no, yeah. So that's the kind of the status quo of the SAG strike right now. And we talked about this a little bit on the Patreon stream today. And I had mentioned that after WGA had gotten their deal, I was expecting that the way that it really, the way it played out, it really felt like there was this sense of urgency that we just got daily updates about, okay, they're going back, they're tweaking this, they're adding this, they're doing this to the deal. And then they finally got their deal. So I was thinking, okay, now they're going to move right into SAG. And I thought the worst case scenario would be, okay, we would hear back from SAG. Yeah, we got most of what we want. We still got some work to do. We're not quite there yet, but just bear with us. We still got to hang in there to get the last little portions or
adjustments. I mean,
yeah, exactly, yeah. And that, of course, as we see from that statement, it very much went the opposite direction. So, so
it went off the rails. It went from we're making progress to somebody just standing up, opening up their backhand and delivering a crisp one across the forehead of the other guy.
Yeah. So,
like I said, it's an RKO out of nowhere. It's for those of you who know wrestling. And I'm like, it was like somebody, there was a hand out here, and we were almost there. Two of the three, DJ got their deal, writers got their deal, and a lot of that was over happening. And that hand turned into a fist that just punched me right in the balls.
Yeah.
And then I saw my Dune 2 poster over here literally fall off the wall and just be floating to the back of the store, further and further away from me.
Well, because you were already thinking it wasn't going the date it's been pushed to now, that you didn't think even with the strike being resolved tomorrow it would not hold. But now it's really not going to hold, and that's really where the conversation stands right now, is like, how much longer is the strike going to last, and what are the ripple effects? How much more is going to get pushed back? How much? I mean, I'm kind of hesitant to even give a timeline of when I think this could end now, because I don't see it ending this year or after that.
No, and now you're going to have NATO. NATO's going to have to get involved, because they're, granted, the backlog of movies will help them in the summertime, but their theaters work on a very thin margin. Theaters really don't make a lot of money. They only get 33% of the actual ticket itself. So that's why when you go into a theater, the food is so high, because that's where they make the bulk of the money.
If you've been following the box office trends this year, they've really been running a slim margin.
Yeah, and if the customer's not there, he can't buy candy, popcorn, and all that other stuff. So they're really hurting, and a lot of them are going through near bankruptcy issues. So I don't know if these theaters can last until that long. I mean, there's only so many old movies you can throw out there. So yeah,
I mean, there's one in particular, two in particular, technically, from a certain filmmaker we all want to see theatrically. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah. They would need a lot.
I mean, it's like that almost might become a necessity the longer this goes on.
Yeah, and they really need to, like I said, we'll see. And here's Netflix. Netflix definitely. Now, you could forget about, unfortunately, if you wanted to see Rebel Moon on a big screen, there's no way Netflix is going to budge now. They're not gonna put into a advertising pool, because they would have to pay for the advertising. The cinemas are not going to pay for that, and the cinemas won't put your movie on their screen unless it's properly advertised.
And of course, they can't have the cast do press for it.
Yeah.
Right now, so
and like I said, and Netflix is like, wait a minute, that's just one more reason for us not to give away on the screen what we want you to come to us for. That's just one more nail in that coffin, unfortunately. So,
so yeah, I mean, I don't even know how to break that down to cliff notes for everybody, other than to say it's just buckle up, because this ain't ending any in the foreseeable future.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of awful entertainment coming out, because there's just not. You're going to see the difference between, professionally done stuff, hot top tier stuff, and everybody's well, hey, we can just stick with indies. I'm like, okay, sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Everything Everywhere All at Once, I mean, that might get another, its latest theatrical re-release now, because that is a very popular. I mean, that's kind of a tentpole at this point for A24. But
and I'm an indie guy. I'm a supporter of indies, but I also know I just be realistic with the draw of independent movie is versus what what these guys are offering. So.
Yeah. I mean, what do we even say to this right now? It's
we're gonna have to come up with other stuff to talk about besides the movies, because after a while they're just not gonna do, and they're not gonna put these movies in the theater unless they can, especially now with the writer's strike over with, and you can get Fallon is back, Kimmel's back, all these guys are back, and you're gonna have to get waivers. It's just complicated. So
I mean, it's really, as I mentioned the other night, William's dream of having the show without us having to give strike updates, that is out the window at this point.
Yeah, and if they're not even going to be talking anytime soon, you might not. The only update is that there's no update at this point. So
yeah, and from the sound of it, it's that split was so acrimonious that there are no, even with the SAG and the other unions saying let's get back to the table now, there's no indication that's going to happen in the immediate future.
Yeah, because IATI's completely getting screwed because they depend on everybody being back to work, and if one element is not back to work, then they're not back to work.
Which, for those of you who don't know, IATSA, that's basically a union for crew members. So that's like lighting people and gaffers and things like that.
Yeah, man, at a time when we need entertainment.
Would you? And this, I mean, this is us being the Snyder fans, and we just brought up Rebel Moon. I mean, like, would you at this point, if you were WB/DCC, would you theoretically, because of the dry spell we're going to be experiencing in short order here, would you say, screw it, let's put it out there in some kind of like limited 2-week run to get a little cash out of that for the theaters and for us?
I would, because it's already paid for. You don't have to spend any more money on it. Us cult members are the ones that do most of the advertisement for that anyway. So something I would do it just because it doesn't cost you anything. I mean, you put it in the theater.
And that's the thing. That's the thing. The studio is fundamentally misunderstood about this fan base, is that we really are the marketing wing
we're ending up in Barbie jokes, dude. We're ending up everywhere.
Yeah,
we found a way to let you in. Is like the reason why I think they wouldn't do it is because did I freeze again?
Yeah, you got a little bit garbled there.
Hold on, I opened something up that I shouldn't have opened, and
you're good now. You're good now.
All right. The one, I can't see myself on the stream, so I know I'm delayed a little bit. But no, I would. A lot of people will say, "Well, if you do that back, then you'll never get rid of the Snyder fans." I'm like, so what?
Well, I mean,
why you're not going to get rid of me?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, there's that A, and B. It's like you're not going to get. It's like, how have you not figured this out yet? It's like you can't put this genie back in the bottle.
Yeah. Why not just cash in on it? I mean, worst case scenario is to me, and this is where they always get themselves into trouble, though, is because there's never been any resolution. It's really hard to exploit that. Seeing that Donovan was asking a question, why couldn't we just move on? We don't need resolution. A fan may not need resolution, but if I'm running a business and I want to exploit that asset, I have to clean it up. I don't care how old it is. If I want to exploit that and make money, and if it's got a red S or a bat on it and it's in your library, you best believe I'm going to be trying to exploit it. I don't care how old it is.
Well, not only that, a fan might not need resolution, but that's a fan.
Yeah, that's money. You just leave money on the table. 4th 1,000. I don't know why you're turning into a devil.
Yeah. What would we expect any less?
How you doing, Vince? What's going on?
But that's kind of where things stand with the strike now. There's also the big as far as like how this is going to bleed into next year, which it absolutely. I mean, even if the strike got resolved by Christmas, I mean, this is absolutely going to affect the calendar for next year. And
you got post-production, you got reshoots, you got all.
You got things that either couldn't get started filming, like a lot of James Gunn stuff, or you had things that had to halt midway, like Deadpool 3. Deadpool 3, I mean, you can write that off at this point. That being the first weekend of May, it'll be a cold day in hell before that happens.
And I mean, it's just, I don't know, it's just it's nauseating. So to confirm, no, not tomorrow. Not tomorrow. I gotta put out a different. I got some stuff going on, and I won't have access to this computer until later on in the evening. So, guys who are coming to the Blue Beetles thing tomorrow, it is more than likely going to be in the 5 o'clock area, and I'll make that final at night. Right. I wanted to make it 2 o'clock, but I just man,
I get it, man.
So, all right, so I'll get with you, Vince, on that one. Spider-Man, everybody, this is people I talked to today.
Rhea,
the trouble starter, man. Hey. This is Rhea's last streamer because I'm blocking her. Man, felt like I was on the witness stand sometimes. Like, hey, listen. I love Rhea.
She had some good. We were talking about like a lot of the business side of resolution. She had a lot of good stuff she contributed to the Patreon stream. So thanks a lot for that, Rhea.
Yeah, thank you. And she asked the questions that should have been asked way back when. I'm like, when all our colleagues or all of our fellow YouTubers were just basically smearing shit over their eyes. Nobody was asking, or even didn't have an answer. You never asked the right questions in order for me to take you seriously on this. And she actually asked the questions that are relevant questions. And that's all I was asking. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it might have been a bad idea for them to do it. Be honest with you, like I said, the more I thought about it, I'm like,
Just do it in house. Yeah.
Yeah, you know how I feel about giving away money. This is
Well,
how I
you
feel
said that about Spider-Verse on the
Spider-Verse.
Tuesday night.
Well, I'm not giving Disney shit. I got control of the character. I cultivated the character. Guess what? Guess what's better than 100%? Nothing. Nothing's better than 100%. I'm not giving you 15%. I'm not giving you 20%. And if I got people in house that don't think they can do it, guess where they're going to be? Outside the house.
Well, and everybody, if you haven't seen, that was no, it wasn't this Tuesday. I think it was last Tuesday. It was yeah, no, it was during the week. It was last Tuesday. We did a stream. We were kind of talking about just kind of breaking down the concept of like multiverse cinematic storytelling, and the first half of it really kind of came down to William going on a bit of a tangent on Across the Spider-Verse, thanks to some questions that RJ had
RJ ambushed the stream. RJ ambushed, put it out there. RJ ambushed the stream. But like I said, I mean, it's like I am. Listen, I'm not greedy to the point where I'm like Ebenezer Scrooge, but I understand the value of keeping as much of your money as possible.
Well, but it does sound like we got a couple of Scrooges, in AMPTP if the recent turn of events is to be believed.
Yeah. How you doing, Kingdom of Nerves?
Oh, by the way, please pull up this one from Maria. This is so great.
What is it?
That's about softball here. I think she's referring to when we were on the Patreon stream.
She had a Weezer reference. I saw what you did there, and we're gonna get to Weezer.
No. It's a little bit. It's like right above Forts here.
I got to give you control so you can do this quickly.
Yeah, I got it. I'll just read it off. I say, William, I was playing softball on the show to be nice. I don't want to take the gloves off and embarrass you on your own show.
Oh, see? Yeah, we're gonna have to see how do we block RAY highlight, and no, I'm just kidding. No, I don't mind. Be honest with you. Listen, this show, I that's what you want. You want that type of engagement without it being crazy. See, that's the thing. That's what we lack. So, and a lot of these shows is the engagement. As soon as it gets to the point where somebody, goes sideways with an unexpected question, and then you start all that screaming and shit, and it's like, oh my god, that's we don't. I try not to have that here. So no, I ran up and down. Even like I said, Donovan Martin was coming at me. I'm like, no, we'll read all your questions.
It really sounds to me like this last strike meeting. There was screaming in that room. From their language that came out of the statements that were released after, there was some bad blood coming out of this.
Bobby got their ass kicked.
Yeah, I think okay. Here's something else I was thinking about too, because on the AMPTP end, and they got stockholders to answer to. I'm wondering how much longer are they gonna? Oh, sorry, something happened crossed in the hallway back there. I lost my train of thought. How much longer are they gonna before they start getting shown the door? Because they are costing their studios money the longer this goes on.
It's a good question, because like I said, if there's no revenue coming in, it's like Tom Hagen said in The Godfather when he was arguing about Sonny about starting a war. He's like, "There's nothing coming in. Nobody's making any money. We got to end this war." And that's basically what it is. When nothing's coming in, it changes the situation. It's like, "Hi, Aaron, my favorite Australian. Hey, Aaron, if I drop the link, I want you to come in. I want to hear that accent." And Suri too. She's got like a South American. I love accents because I'm from California. We don't have any. So,
sorry, there were some fireworks going on next door that kind of distracted me a minute there.
Fireworks? What in the hell?
No, just some kind of party downstairs, the other end.
Oh, you're in your frat house?
Yeah.
All right, how you doing, Chappie? Let's see. The pleasure and privilege was mine. Oh wait, wrong band. What did I get? I got a double. Let's go look at this should be a segment of the show. What the hell did William get? And they threw it all in. She gave me greens and look at this bag. This is what you get when you go when it's time for everybody to get the hell out of there.
Yeah, go ahead and keep talking. I'll be right back. I'm going to the bathroom.
Let's see. Oh man, I got mac and cheese. I got a bowl of greens. I got rice. I got cornbread. And that's just to get to the burger. Let's see. Oh, there it goes. See that, guys? And it doesn't get done justice. Here, I'm gonna do this. I'll bring the camera up to you. There you go. See that? See how layered that is? I have big hands, so you know if my big hands are anywhere near it, then there's a big burger. Oh yeah. Man, I shouldn't have took it out of there because now I can smell it. All right, so Brad went to go ask his parents if he could stay up later. Okay, now these damn flies. No, you can't have any of it. Get away. It's closed. Get away. All right, we all like to whack on occasion. Now you're dead. Here we go. Killed a fly with my bare hand. That's kind of sad. All right, how you doing, fun? All right, everybody's saying hi to each other, so I'm going to get past that. How you doing, Azteca? Spider-Man, see you again. What's going on, Anthony Beltre? The strike is not, yeah. This is, like I said, this is an entertainment show, and I love entertainment. I love my shows happening, and it's just, but I understand, and it's just, man, it sucks, dude. Yes, towards the end of the show, I'm going to drop the StreamYards link. How you doing, Daniel? The other Martin. I had two Martins in the chat. One was coming at me, but I can handle it. If there's still a strike with the actors, how is there new Saturday Night Live going on now? Because I think they have there's some kind of category that they explain this. They explain it and they got a waiver because they were on all the talk shows. The only actors that were on the talk shows this week were all the people from Saturday Night Live. And they got a waiver, and it's a type of show that doesn't fall under what the actor strike is under. The WGA strike shut them down, but the actor strike didn't. So they were able to have, and Pete Davidson is their host if you look at it this week, and he's actually an alumni, and he's an actor, but technically in the capacity of that show, he's in a different category. So they explained it though. All right. Writers got everything they wanted, and like I said, I thought that the actors would follow suit.
Okay, I'm back.
All right.
Oh, and yeah, actually, to go to that point, I mean, I think to kind of to look at it from how AMPTV was thinking, I think that's their mindset. The writers got everything they wanted, so that everything they wanted should be good enough for SAG. I think that's their perspective, and
that's what I thought. Honest with you, that's what I thought, but I guess that shows you what I know.
Well, but also, as they said in that statement, it's like this offer they came to us with was less than what they offered us the first time. So
they'll probably have to go through the same, because remember, it got ugly with WGA for a little bit too. So
yeah.
So man, okay, Rhea. So they mean 2% is in the subs or sub growth. They're assuming that all 100 or 1 million are on the platform watching content that has SAG as talent associated with. I don't know. I don't know enough, and there's not enough front leading. To me, in order to make that offer, I'm thinking SAG has to have the numbers. We're never going to have them, but they have them, and that's why this is getting tougher on Armpit, because Armpit can't say, well, no, you're gonna send us to the poorhouse. Even Netflix, to a certain percentage, can't lie. And like I said, they did a good job. Armpit did a great job in lulling everybody into that. Streaming is dead. We're suffering. Wow, we grew too fast and we're hurting now. We have our hat in our hands, which was complete bullshit. And I knew people that I'm like that are way smarter than me that fell for that shit. And there's no way. You look at their numbers even on the worst day. Don't conflate with it got big during the pandemic. And that's the thing. They've seen the future. Armpit has seen the future. They know where the potential revenue is going. They're not going back. They may have to scale it up and get to where they were when things inflated because of COVID, but in a pandemic. But trust me, once they've sniffed that steak, they're going to be chasing that cow forever. It is never going back. With the streaming thing, like I said, the theaters are going to have to make some adjustments. We're going to have to come up with a hybrid situation. But yeah, they're making money. They're making money hand over fist when it comes to streaming. And anybody who thinks they aren't, I'm sorry. They've done a great job on you then, if you guys think that they're not doing that. So, yeah, I mean, dude, listen, you get 3 letters with me. 3 letters. Once you go to 4 and 5 letters, even my army brain starts saying, well, you got to come out. Even the army, the king of acronym, you give me, come on, AMP, come, that's it, AMP, call yourself AMP. But but that literally, look, you're only missing 2 R's in the A, and it's armpit. So I mean,
well, like I said, it's like they might be looked upon more with that acronym after this last deal was not followed through on.
Man, Ray, also 57 cents per sub is more than what Netflix generates per year. So how can they even pay? How can they even pay that suggested amount, let alone anything over 10% without taking a loss on a year? Because that's if the numbers that Netflix puts out there are to be believable. But if you look at what and here's another question I need to know: are not everything, and she brought this up before, it's a good point, not everything on the platform will apply to this, though. Is there a separate application for things that don't apply? Because there's things on Netflix that don't necessarily or weren't made with union work. There's a lot of foreign stuff up there. They make a lot of money off of a lot of Korean stuff. So are they talking overall revenue, or are they talking just the things that they associate? Because that's something I need to know in order to be able to form an opinion. I need to know the math. You know what I mean? It's just,
and like I said, it's like math is definitely not my strong subject, but just with that 60% that they put out in that statement, it was it's fairly easy to figure. Okay, Armpit's saying 800 million, and they're in SAG is saying no, it actually would cost 320. Which again, that's big. No, people who basic arithmetic suggests that is a rather substantial gap.
So where's that gap coming from? Because so Netflix also needs to generate a salary and platform upkeep as well as a shareholder dividends. I'm not defending them, but the math, and that's why Netflix. And remember, I said that I've always said that the one entity in this that is literally has their life on the line or their way of doing business on the line is going to be Netflix, because it's going to be harder for Netflix to go with this, because unlike all the other ones, that is what they do, and that's all that they do. Even with them opening up these little stores that they're thinking of opening up.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, the primary driver of their revenue is always going to be subscription based. Whereas everybody else has streamers, but they also have studios, and they also have channels. Paramount has CBS. Warner Brothers has 3 or 4 channels, and the studio, and music, and licensing. They have all these things. Netflix has one thing. So Netflix has to be really, really careful about where they concede, because it could literally end up, and I'm not saying they're going to go out of business, but it could end up changing their business model to the point where the customer is like, okay, you got to raise prices now to fit that, because that's what's going to happen. They're going to raise prices. They're going to raise subscription fees. And now you're talking about a household that might have 2 or 3 of these, and one of them has to go.
Actually, kind of on that, I wanted to, this is something that's been on my mind a little bit, going to the whole Snyder versus Netflix debate, that we got into a little bit on the Patreon stream today. And what you're saying there, yeah, it's very valid. Like Netflix, you've always said they're the most justified in playing hardball, because I mean they're bread and butter. They don't have 50 different ancillary revenue sources. They got streaming, and that's subscription stuff, and that's it. And what Zach's doing with Rebel Moon now, I mean, he's got tie-in video games and novels and things like that. I mean, there's also the whole thing about the lawsuit with the RPG that was in the works. Hopefully that gets resolved and those guys actually get to release that. But all that, that would obviously, Netflix would be taking a cut of that. And
by the way, those guys are going to probably lose that lawsuit. I feel awful for them. Those guys are probably going to lose that lawsuit. It's because there's different phases before you're completely committed to certain things, and the way these guys write their contracts, there's certain things and benchmarks that have to be reached on all sides before it to. And they knew what they were doing when they pulled out. I wish they hadn't, because it's awful. You put your work into something like that. You put all your man hours into something like that.
I'm not even like a RPG guy, but I'd still would love to see that.
Neither am I. And the reasoning that it's not happening, I don't like that reasoning. To me, and like I said, I have a Batgirl opinion, but I have unless you're telling me that the game wasn't up to snuff and it's going to hurt your brand. But if that's not the case, then this is not. It doesn't look good, and you don't associate Zack Snyder's name with these kind of things, and that's the kind of shit that what WB would do, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, kind of going back to that though. So with all the kind of tie-in, spin-off, stuff that's outside of like an actual streaming movie or show that's coming out of Rebel Moon. I mean, that is going to be Netflix will be taking a piece of that pie. So this this can maybe add a bit into the Snell Snyderverse, which means like i.e. make JL 2 and 3 through Netflix. And the merchandising that could come out of that is that would that also, and this isn't necessarily exclusive to Netflix, it also could be if they did with Universal, they did with Amazon, if WB held on to it, the merchandising they'll come. I mean, just out of the Nightmare alone, I mean, that is just a merchandising goldmine. Wouldn't that incentivize theoretically if something like, okay, Netflix, you guys go ahead and tackle finishing this? Well, would that not add added incentive to it, because you could not only just do the JL sequels, but also, or like do like the Batfleck movie with that and things like that. But also, you could have spinoff like action figures, tie-in comics, things like that. And that's that's another revenue stream that they don't have strictly through their streaming model.
What they would probably end up doing is using that as leverage to get them a better deal as far as how much the license would cost. Because here's what I would do if I'm Netflix. I say you keep the merchandising money, but you give us a hell of a deal on this. And so say you, instead of charging me 300 million or whatever, I'm just throwing out a number, you charge me 150 million, you fit it with mine, but all the stuff with Todd McFarlane comes to you and wants to buy a license from you and to buy the rights to do this, and the revenue, the percentage of revenue, all that, you get that, but you give us this deal. Everybody works out. Netflix gets something that's cost effective for them. Warner Brothers gets a merchandise boost from something they don't have to spend they don't have to spend one dime. They're being paid for the licensing fee. They're being paid from the from whoever buys the rights to do the thing, and they're getting percentage. It's all profit to me. There's nothing to lose. And you, like I said, the whole confusion angle with anything you do with comic books these days, if you're that easily confused, you're probably not going to be able to even read comics.
That's not your genre, really.
Yeah, you're not even going to be into it, because, like I said, and we're going to go into it with the Elsewolrds brand, is the first thing you do to eliminate any confusion on any of your universes, no matter whether
is brand them individually.
Brand them. Before I give you anything, before I give you any story, any context of story, I let you know you're going to see that Elsewolrds thing as if it were tattooed on my forehead. It's going to be everywhere. The same way that frizz when HBO starts and you hear like whatever the show is after that. When you see that Elsewolrds emblem, you're watching something different. The brand comes first, then the story, then the characters. That way, if you put the brand first, anything you put out there, I don't care if you have 25 Batman. If the one of them is the Elseworlds Batman, then that's already been branded. They're going to know that because they're going to know the brand before they know the individuality of it all. So that's what you do, and you have the Elseworlds brand, and then you have other brands too. I think DC wastes themselves by not having multiple brands, because they listen to people that like, oh, that's too confusing. I'm like, no, you know what's confusing? The fact that you can even have a conversation about comic books and comic book genres and are easily confused. That's the thing. But yeah, the money is there, but hey.
Well, yeah, that had been on my mind when you had mentioned that Netflix, that they're the ones that are they're the most justified in digging their heels in, because they don't have they don't have as many irons in the fire as all the other studios doing. Like Rebel Moon really is kind of one of the first properties they have that is going to provide them added. I mean, Stranger Things is another, but they don't have that for like every thing they produce. I mean, by and large, it's either a movie or a show, but that's it. That's on its own. That doesn't turn into, it doesn't spiral out into 8 or 9 different added revenue sources. And again, Stranger Things, now Rebel Moon, were some of the first they're getting to do with that, which is plays into where they fall in this whole strike situation.
Yeah, and like I said, when Netflix spends money, they have to spend money. They have to spend money because you have to have a certain level of quality stuff to bring you in all that unknown shit. So the known shit, like Rebel Moon, right? That's going to be something we all know, right? But trust me, let Rebel Moon roll through the credits. And when that little screen disappears and that other, you may like this goes, and my dumb ass says, you know what? I think you're right. And I click right on it, or I just let it play. And I'm not, my whole family does it that way. Everybody I know that has Netflix. And if you're doing it right, there's a lot of stuff. And that's why Netflix doesn't need to advertise everything. These big things are their advertisements. So if you had a Superman or you had a whatever your big IP is, there's a whole bunch of Superman-like stuff, or a whole bunch of a man from a dying planet comes to this planet type of unknown stuff that we don't know, Z-list stuff. But you know what? When you're sitting on your ass and you're half drunk or you're half high or you're just relaxing and you don't feel like thinking about what you're going to watch next, Netflix will walk you through all that stuff. And it's convenient. It's convenient and it's comfort, and that's what keeps you around.
You know what I'm kind of surprised with too. You going back to the Netflix lacking a lot of the added revenue. I remember thinking, unless I missed something, I don't think they did a lot of merchandising with the Marvel Netflix shows. I mean, unless that went past me, which is really seems like a missed opportunity, because you have recognizable characters with a lot of built-in mythos. You could do action figures, you could do tie-in comics, you could do all kinds of things they were doing with the MCU proper movies. So
they couldn't, because that's part of the limited licensing.
Oh, okay, so that was in the agreement. Okay,
but see, Marvel and Netflix and Disney were all smart about that, because once again, they got to do that show on the cheap, and they got that licensing on the cheap, because the incentive for Marvel to give it to them, or Disney to give it to them on the cheap, is that they made the comics, they made the reference, and it was good advertisement for them. It was good for everybody, because everybody was talking about that show. And once again, when I'm watching Daredevil, or when I'm watching Defender, when I'm watching any of that stuff, trust me, when next time I log in a Netflix, all of a sudden there's a bunch of stuff that looks awful like the shit I was just watching. And that's how it works. People think that's cheesy, right? That works. It works. That's why Netflix does what they do. That's why they spend money on things. Well, Netflix would never spend that kind of money. Like the hell they wouldn't. You know why? Because the amount of money that they spend on these things, like the Irishman and all these big money things, it is, you figure how much you have to spend on advertising a year for the course of time. They got that locked in. They get that one thing that you know about that's going to open up the door. Like I said, your favorite sweater is in that closet. But you know what else is in that closet? A whole bunch of other shit that you're going to like. Once you open that closet, I got you. And that's what Netflix has mastered. That's why when people say they wouldn't spend money on this or spend money on that, yes, they will, because they have to. They can't just go with a bunch of Z-list stuff. In order to make that Z-list stuff worth doing, they got to get that A-list stuff in there. Stranger Things, oh, hell, all kinds of multi-dimensional telekinesis and stuff like that's coming at you as soon as you're done with that, because they're taking that. And that's what HBO Max really, I thought that they were going to do coming in, because once again, if I like a certain DC superhero, I'm rare, but if I have a family of 4, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not just for me, and it's not just going to be my decision necessarily, because if I get rid of one of the streamings and the kids love it and the wife loves it and the mistress loves it, then I'm going to be in trouble. We're going to upset, so we keep it, right? But guess what's going to happen though? If I'm watching Superman, Man of Steel, or I'm watching Superman, whatever, it's going to know that I have kids in the house, because when the kids come into their part of the account, they're in there. So guess what? That algorithm is going to go to your kids. Hey, Dad, you were watching Superman? I got animated Superman. That's how it works. I've seen how it works on there. I watch a lot of that stuff, and it leads you to where they want you to go. So when you're thinking, well, why would you want to finish something and let's leave it dead? Well, I got these movies in here that, once again, they were on TV today. I got these movies in there. If you're watching Aquaman with the family, your kid might enjoy Aquaman, the cartoon. If you're watching the Flash, these things are associated. It's called associated benefit, and that's what you do, and that's what Netflix has mastered. The rest of these streamers have not, because the rest of the streamers have libraries. Netflix has a library too, but they collect stuff, and that's they collect stuff because they know the 5 things that you know about are going to lead you to 1,000 things that you never knew about, but you're going to watch them. There's stuff on Netflix. I'm like, what is this? And I'm like, wow, it's good. And then you know what Netflix does? They do the little preview screen for you, right? And they start talking, and you start getting scenes. You're like, okay, I got to click on it now.
Yeah.
Got to click on it now. So, and then what happens once I watch that no name thing that no one heard about? I get on a show like this, or I start talking to my friends. It's like the good disease. You start spreading it, and that's how Netflix has done it. They're doing it right. It's just now they're gonna have to make adjustments. So, Ray, it's almost like the proposal was held on realistic number in order to settle on something around 15 to 20% may cause Netflix to break even on operational costs. Yeah, like I said, Netflix has got to be very careful. And it's going to make them look like assholes, but
And by the way, I got to follow up with this one comment that Rhea just dropped. I type better than I speak, and both skills are below average at best. And Rhea, trust me, from today on the Patriot stream, neither is below average in your case.
Nah, she should do voiceover work.
You are so modest, Rhea.
Yeah, I've been trying. Well, you know what? No, they're not going to cancel the Oscars this year because there's enough good movies out there. It's going to suck that some of the movies, one of them, are not going to. Like I said, we're not going to have Dune. That's not going to make it in.
I mean, the Oscars. I mean, they have been kind of going down the toilet these last few years, and not just for obvious recent incidents, but which also continues to be a national controversy that I'm trying to keep away from, but it won't stop.
What's that?
Oh, the slap and the fallout, and yeah.
Oh, that's 3 years later. Now they're just bringing it back up.
Yeah,
dude. I'm tired. Listen, I wish you guys well, but man, this is Johnny Depp, Amber Heard type of stuff.
It's starting to feel that way. Yeah, it's like I don't even like talking about it.
Yeah. So, real quick, Aaron, will you be showing Rebel Moon at the Sci-Fi Center parking lot like you've done before with other movies? I am either going to show it in a drive-in out here, or I'm going to rent the theater to show it in the theater. I haven't decided what and I want to get all of our streaming buddies that can make it out here to stream from wherever we do it from. If we do it from the theater, Galaxy Theater has an area that they've let us set up to where we can, because when we did No Way Home there, I rented out a theater for No Way Home. That's when I met RJ. RJ came to that.
Well, you're even kind of dubious. Like, do you think the strike would prevent that now? Because you said like you sound pretty dubious that they do any kind of theatrical run for Rebel Moon at all now because of this.
No, I don't think they're going to do a theatrical run, and I don't think it's gonna. I don't think Netflix is gonna. I don't think Netflix can delay it. I don't think they.
No, yeah, I just like I think they're. I mean, they clearly believe a lot in what Zach has done with this universe that he's built, and I mean it's their big tentpole for this year, the first one. So yeah, I don't see that getting pushed back. As far as I really like a lot of stuff, I don't. Maybe I should walk that back. Rebel Moon, I don't see getting pushed back. Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom, I don't see that getting pushed back either.
No, Aquaman, they're going to take whatever benefits or losses. They're going to want that in this quarter in this year. So if it kicks them in the balls,
everything else though, it's like I think that's kind of up in the air. Well,
the Moon. I mean, you're gonna.
Yeah. Well, no, the Marvels that's too close. They're not going to delay that either.
Well, no, and there's nowhere they can put it that's going to make it a blockbuster, unless you're going to have an end game right before it or after it, and it's going to make. And be honest with you, the characters aren't that appealing on that.
You know what? I feel because I'm not. I didn't like the first one at all. It's like I actually kind of think Brie Larson was miscast in this role, to be perfectly honest.
I think she was miswritten. I think she was cast right. I think they wrote a cardboard character that was not as endearing as Carol Danvers.
But that kid who plays Kamala Khan, Iman Vellani? It's like I'm feeling bad for her in the situation because she actually just put out like a little bit of an editorial the other day where she talks about like, before getting this role, she was the biggest like MCU fan like in her social circle, and now this has launched her career. She's written a comic book that ties into it.
It's gonna be fine, man. It's just gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Listen, Marvel. Listen, the death of Marvel has been exaggerated, and here's why. There's two things, like I said earlier today, that's hurting them. That is not going to hurt them forever. The quality of the stuff isn't that good, but that happens. But the quality of the majority of the stuff that they put out before wasn't that good. But they had anchored things that kept you going and watching it. Now you don't have that. You ran your course with all your major characters. And here's another thing: they have credibility. That they can right the ship. That's not the same thing with DC. When I ran Marvel's marathon, there was a finish line. There was people at the end of it with cups of water. There was people dumping the buckets over my head. And even though I was the last person in the marathon and the sun was down, and I kept everybody late because they needed to make sure that I made it to the finish line alive without dropping dead and dying. I got to the finish line. There was a finish line there when I was panting and throwing up on the sidelines when doing my celebratory vomit and everything. Where was I standing? At the finish line. I got everything. The kind of exhaustion I got from Marble was the good exhaustion. And now it's like I'm on that high. Yeah, you put out some really stupid stuff and crappy stuff, but I know that high that you can give me because it's still very near. I don't have that with DC. See? And there's no high for me because
we have the high of when we got the Snyder cut out, but when Cavill came back,
that high.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the highs we've gotten. It's like they have set the management. It's not the filmmakers of the IP itself. It's the people managing it have set up a expectation among DC fans where like everything we want to see, it's like it has to be fought for, or it's like you're not just running the marathon. It's like they're flogging you while you do it.
Yeah, there's like interference. There's like booby traps. It's like American Ninja or some shit like that, or with the little ninja competition.
It's like at the beginning of Raiders of the Lost Ark. We have to go through all these traps to get the treasure and
just to get the
and then you get it, and then like the temple starts falling apart, trying to kill you on your way out.
Yeah, that's Ann Sarnoff. We're gonna be showing. I'm showing the rated R. I don't listen. We're not showing the sanitized version of anything.
Although even the sanitized version sounds like it's going to be pretty hardcore. I mean,
the sanitized the trailer is pretty hardcore.
Yeah, I mean, this is Zack Snyder sanitized, so it's like that's different for regular sanitized.
Yeah, then the healthcare. There's a lot of stuff that Netflix. Like I said, I'm not siding with Netflix, but what she's saying is 100% right. They got to be way more careful than everybody else is. Doing so. Let's see. I'm gonna make sure. Just finished watching Pet Cemetery.
Yeah, I need to give that a look. I didn't like the new one, to be perfectly honest with you, when that came out. That's one of the recent Stephen King ones. Didn't really blow me away that much.
I just never, even the original ones, just dead pets coming back to life. I have a problem with dying pets. I've never been able. There's a reason I don't listen. I know this is gonna sound like shit. I don't want to go through another, getting a dog and getting it for 10, 12 years and having to say goodbye. I'm like, but I know I should because that 10 years is forever for them. But when I watch Pet Cemetery, not only are they dying, but they're coming back and they're killing you and you got to kill them again. That's just,
man. Yeah, I get that.
And then so Pet Cemetery.
And my dog I've been telling you about, I just got him because my previous dog passed away. I'd had her name was Lexi for 11 years, and it's about a year and a half, and then finally got my new dog Murphy, and he's still a pup. He's a German short hair pointer, but he's got so much energy. He's only a year and a half, but he's he is loving his new home, definitely.
Yeah, AI is the least of the issues. Humans still operate the tool. The deciding factor of the platform, the content exists. The customers that pay for it. What's a year good for it? But and then, like I said, when it comes to Netflix, the main thing about Netflix is they have to maintain their certain numbers. Growth is great, but they have to have that retention and that stability. And what I always say, continuity leads to cash. But yeah, AI, because you know what? They're not even going to have to worry about AI. Congress is going to end up regulating AI. So you're not even need
after this, it's like, I mean, that was another thing that popped in my head because he would talk about, like the nuclear option would be a federal mediator, and with how bad this sounded, it's like, ooh man, could we be at that point?
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. But like I said, this whole strike. Here comes the ambush king himself. I wish I had didn't have a bunch of tech issues today.
Yeah. You go back and watch the Patreon stream, everybody. RJ was unfortunately subject to some. Yeah,
people blaming me. You just got rid of him, didn't you? I'm like, dude, here's my hands are up here.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, when he got back, he did manage.
I didn't touch anything. I might.
It did manage to be smooth sailing, but yeah.
Was that the New York? Oh, okay, cool. Rational Skeptic was that New York Comic Con today. It was fun, but some of the booths had inflated prices. They charge. Oh, are you talking about for? Yeah. That's the same thing with San Diego Comic Con, and like I said, it's some of the prices I paid because I wasn't going to get the chance to necessarily do it again. But like I said, where's my when I went, I had like I said, somebody, by the way, were asking me last night what was one of my most prized possessions besides my belt. Here it is.
Yep.
Here it is. Like I said, it's not a 9-point whatever, but it doesn't matter. It's signed in blue, which was the first one I had. He signed in silver. But like I said, this journey to get this book, I was so relieved. Like I said, all the cool shit that happened to me and at Comic-Con this year, meeting Lacuna Coil, meeting a whole bunch of people, meeting people from AEW, Danhausen, all those guys. I mean, hanging out with Trauma. I mean, literally any conversation that includes hanging out with a studio head. I don't care if the studio is Bob's studio from your backyard. It's a studio head, and he's one that's led one for 50 years. Hanging out with him for 4 days and all the Trauma people for 4 days. Those are all cool things. But man, the coolest thing that happened to me that weekend was getting this. And like I said, I should have had somebody follow me with a camera, a documentary of me getting this.
Of your quest to get Todd McFarlane's autograph on your Spider-Man comic.
Because this is one of my favorite covers. And as soon as I get off my ass, and I have actually made a little video about this, not about getting an autograph, but about this comic book cover. And I have a segment that I'm going to be publishing that lets that tells you the science behind comic book covers and why they're so important and why each one is so important.
And listen, like McFarlane, I mean, for like all his great work with Spawn and everything he did, Image. I mean, everybody, if you haven't read like his, or check out his work on when he was on Spider-Man. I mean, that's some of the best Spider-Man illustration there's ever been. Has been his work on Spider-Man.
298 to 328. That was his run with a couple. He took one issue off because he had to meet a deadline, and Eric Larson, who was not known at the time, Eric Larson, who would come over to him with the Image 3 years later, Savage Dragon and all that. And Eric Larson would be the one that developed the tongue for Venom and all that. And he got started there. But I loved every month that McFarlane was going to come out with a cover. Whatever old character he was going to do, he just basically gave that character a new.
I loved his ethos when he was illustrating Spider-Man. It's like the whole thing about like every time he's in the suit, it's like you just got to make him as as much of like an arachnid as he possibly can illustrate a human to be. And it's like you got to make those webs. You just got to really just show the contours and the intricacies of the webbing. He just went all out with his Spider-Man artwork. So if I ever like got the chance to get his autograph, it's like again, Spawn is such a turning point. Obviously on the
hey, that's trademark, buddy.
But like if I get getting his autograph on one of his Spider-Man issues, I mean that would be just so perfect.
And on that one, because like I said, I mean that one is when I was in line, everybody had a Spawn #1, Spawn #9, Spider-Man #1, the silver cover, and like I said, you had people with different covers. But this one, I bought this in 1989. I remember buying this in the summer of 1989, and I got it autographed in 1989. And I think that was the first year that they held in the convention center that it was at, because we had been at the Omni downtown before this one. But like I said, this comic is literally 30, so it's 34 years old, about to be 35 years old, and it's in good condition. And I was able to get my hands on this before I left for San Diego, and I'm like, I thought I had no chance. There was even a post I made. I'm taking this assassination plot with me because I had them all, and with the full understanding that I probably have no chance of getting them signed. And as it became more real that I was going to get these signed, I was happy.
Well,
look at the pictures of that day from the comic.
Yeah, I know. That's what's so great about not just San Diego Comic, but just cons in general. Everybody's on some kind of quest when you go to a con, like whether it's getting autograph, getting a picture, or winning a cosplay contest. Everybody's got like some kind of mission they're on, and it's to varying degrees. But then you have something like at that scale and you pull it off. I mean, it's just nirvana.
Yeah, and like I said, in the midst of all that stuff they had there, I mean, Star Trek. I mean, the Star Trek booth was excellent. I went to Hall H. The first time I had been in Hall H since I've been going there. Because I just avoided Hall H, but not only did I not avoid Hall H, I actually got in, and they were cheering. I have a video where they're cheering us in to Hall H. Yeah, that burger is beautiful, man. I showed him my burger while you walked out there. Stop teasing, William. Chicken salads and oatmeals for a week.
Yeah, fourth's gonna fourth.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Vincent's Variety Channel. Okay, they're talking to each other. So let me get to some of these things. Let's see. We need to dissect what A24 is doing to fall in line with SAG rules.
Yeah, I
already
mean,
paying 2%. I think A24 counts as they're not part of the.
they're not at the level of like WB or Disney or Universal, and it seemed other than that, from my understanding, they are complying with what the unions want for writers, actors. So it's like so they're able to move ahead with everything they're doing.
And I believe they're not part of Armpit. And that's all they need to be. I believe they're not part of Armpit, which is one to get,
And they're smart with how they're handling, because they're just coming off of winning an Oscar on their highest grossing movie ever, with Everything Everywhere All at Once. So it's like they know now is not the time for them to stonewall.
Yeah. It's just they can take advantage of it. Well, if the internet is breaking tonight, the paparazzi just published a shit ton of photos of Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift being all lovey-dovey. Are their boyfriend and girlfriend? I mean, as long as they're not showing like a sex tape or something, I don't. Even then, I'm not gonna.
I mean, the big news has been whenever Kanye is going to come and interrupt them.
Yeah, Kanye is going to interrupt sex. Hey, I'm going to let you guys finish, but. I haven't had to bring up that crazy fool's name in quite some time. Ooh.
Oh,
the world does not need Kanye right.
Yeah. Oh, yes, please. We got enough crazy shit happening. Yeah.
There's got to be somebody holding Kanye back. We'll take this tape off your mouth, but you got to shut the hell up. Not today. Not today. Especially some of his stuff about a certain ethnic group that.
Oh, yeah.
Not today, Kanye. Not today, man. Just stay hidden. Wear your crazy clothes. Stay hidden. All right, so talking about gamer.
Oh God! It just occurred to me too. It's like, with what's going on in Israel right now, imagine if he took the opportunity
to. That would. His career's already pretty much over. But all right, Ice Spice and Pete Davidson are going out together. Oh my God, they're hosting. She's the musical guest and he's hosting tonight. How convenient is that? All right, Netflix claimed massive loss last year. What money is to be divided to anyone? Okay, so at the same voice, Netflix has got to be careful, but they're claiming a loss, but they're getting money. They get financed heavily. Like I said, they had $12 billion. They were operating at a $12 billion deficit at one time, but their lenders were like, "Here, take some more money," because they were raking in so much revenue. They claim that loss because they put it up against their debt. That's a cool. I'm not saying that's the coolest thing to do. That's a pretty clever thing to do, because you're still technically at a loss. You are at a loss at the end of your quarter and at the end of the year, but you are still building up enough revenue to have a solid revenue base. Still, though, even with that trick, they still got to be careful, because they won't be drawing the type of revenue if they start spending. If they start spending on more than 10 or 15 major things, and they start having to pay a lot of residuals on a lot of stuff that's not drawing for them, then they won't be in that spot. So that's what a lot of people got to realize, is that I understand what SAG and the unions are saying, and I'm a union guy, but there's more to it than just that. It's not that simple. You see what I mean? And the way she's breaking it down, Ray's breaking down, that's a lot of stuff.
Our allegedly poor speaker / typer Rhea down marvelously.
Let's see.
Yeah, it's like, come on, you're so modest, Rhea.
Nah, and like I said, I think she should do video game voices.
Yeah,
she doesn't like her voice, but she has a perfect voice for cartoons.
Yeah, come on, Rhea.
Go for it. Needs me. They can. I mean, why did I click on Forrest? Why did I click on him? There's Stranger Things is still selling merchandise. I'm still selling comics, and there's action figures, and there's statues, and there's buttons, and there's all kinds. Dude, Stranger Things has a massive. Dude, their Funko licensing deal alone was enough to, I would be able to quit on my job and fire everybody. So yeah, there's a lot of merchandise.
Which, by the way, also Rebel Moon. Yeah, they're also, I've seen they're also putting out Funkos for that now too. So that's another thing. And there's such a cottage industry with Funkos now.
Yeah. Oh, I got a whole wall. I got they're a good percentage of my revenue. With Rebel Moon though, it's just a split between Stone Quarry and Netflix. It's a more advantageous split for them. So
yeah.
All right, so let me get down here and fun. Whoa, William, did you say the wife in the mix? Or the sugar daddy or the gigolo, which whatever.
Yeah, that sounds. Did you steal one of Fort's comments there, dude?
Nah, that was what I was saying. I was like, but you got to listen. I'm not going to criticize your family dynamic or whatever situation. Everybody's got to be entertained. The mistress has to watch Netflix too. She has the code. The Sancho, the other guy, he has the code. The customer's a customer, as far as I'm concerned. So, all right. So let's see, Donovan. I heard that Wonderland might be canned.
We talked a little bit about that on the patron stream, and I mean, as of right now, that's not.
I don't know,
but there has been some chatter on that.
But it does. You know what? If it all depends on, like I said, where Feige's mindset is right now. Does it fit? Does it fit where he's now firmly in control now? Does it fit the new narrative of what where they want to go now? Because they've had a chance to see. They've had a chance to see all their ideas roll out, and not all of them are sustainable, or not all of them are carrying the story. And there is some stuff like that could go away. I don't know where Wonder Man. I wouldn't. I don't know if Wonder Man justifies a show. To be honest with you,
and the fact that go ahead. Well, the fact that they're basically doing a page one rewrite on Daredevil Born Again. The fact that they're doing something that drastic after they've already done some degree of filming pre-strike. I'm gonna say that's not impossible. They might be canon a few things they had in the works, that might have, been filmed or near completion. I mean, they might, which that might become their Batgirl now.
You want that. You want your studios to hold their standard or develop a standard and keep consistent with the standard. And it sucks that people's work might get screwed up, but at the same time, your job as the head, the studio head, or the executive producer is to create a standard and keep it, because that's how you keep your customer. Donovan Martin saw some info from New York Comic Con about Argyle. Can't wait for that, but I feel like it will be delayed. Oh yeah.
And I saw that trailer. That looked pretty good. I'm not that into.
That trailer looks awesome, dude. That trailer looks like some.
I mean, other than I don't think that's Henry Cavill's best looking, having that Bart Simpson hair, but.
Oh wow, that might be the new style, man. That hair is that Drago hair that he had. Yeah, and Dua Lipa, man, she's multi-talented. Johnson. I mean, this is a movie that I wanted to see. It's one of those movies like, damn, I want more trailers, or just give me the movie. And I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And there's some things in there that I guess that they're not showing you, and it has like a lot of twists and stuff in there. There's a different twist that we saw in the trailer. I can't wait. Please don't delay that. Yeah. When was that going to come out?
I'm going to look that up, but I won't be surprised. Again,
you got John Cena. You want to have him answer it.
I think that's not until this coming like April or May, so we should have some time there. But I mean,
well, if the shit lasts till January, then it depends on how long they want these advertising campaigns to go. Ah, man, why, man? I love that trailer, and I love the girl, the writer. She's Donna Noble off of Doctor Who, so I've seen her before. So yeah, I hope the answer to this is no, Donovan.
It's out February, right before my birthday, actually, February 2nd. So yeah, that might be on the that might get postponed.
What time is Blue Beetle tomorrow? Blue Beetle is going to be at 5. I'm going to go ahead and lay that down right now. Blue Beetle is going to be at 5. Right?
So that's 5. That's 5 Pacific, right?
At 5 Pacific, yeah. So all you East Coasters can still drink your warm milk and stuff, and not bitch at me about getting. I'm going to Philly wrestling thing first, but hopefully, are you going to wrestling? Are you going to the 2300 arena? Oh, dude, if you're going to the 2300 arena, you got to take pictures. It's called Labor of Love. It's a local charity wrestling thing. Heard of it? No, I haven't, but there's a lot of wrestling in Philly that I don't know. I just want to know if you're going to 2300. If you're going to 2300, it could be me wrestling bad. It wouldn't matter. You're going to that's less the. Ray, I do ultimately agree with you on all the bottom line content, that output that drives big bucks in the standstill. The talent are used used to not making money, but the platforms don't have that option. Yeah, it's just like I said, you just got to navigate it. It's so easy to be like, wow, this guy's an asshole, because the armpit and the stuff that they said really made that easy. But now that you dive into the math of it, and somebody who has to pay bills, and like everybody, like I always say, William, why don't you carry this? Well, even if I sold out of it, it's the volume and there's the numbers involved. It's not that easy. Or why don't you carry that? Well, my cost, my profit and loss margin doesn't even make it worth it to have in the store. I mean, and there's, I'm just throwing stuff out there, but there's always something behind. Why don't you carry? And I have people ask me, not all the time, but I have locals and people that, every now and then they'll come through and they say, well, you don't carry any golden age or stuff like that, or silver age stuff like that. I'm like, because my 75% of my customers are tourists that aren't buying that here. They're buying that at Bob's comic book store down the street from their house that they've been shopping at for 7 years. And they're going to get a better deal. They're going to get all kinds of stuff like that. And they're not here for that. So me carrying an Amazing Spider-Man 238 or Adventure Comics 300, something like that, that's not going to move as quickly. I could take that $300 and buy a crap load of Funkos that are going to move like that amongst that tourist. I mean, and it's just, and the generation I'm selling comic books to are not being brought into those back issues like I was. They're watching movies, they're watching things like that. So when they come in looking for what James Gunn is inspiring or Grant Morrison's, storyline he's inspiring, they're not going to buy these comics, so they can't afford them. But they'll buy this. If they're not going to buy the first appearance of the Hulk, but they'll buy that trade paperback, and that's good. When he gets a job and he's not mowing lawns and he gets an income, he can get back into that stuff. But right now, the average median of people that are being introduced to the genre are not being introduced to the paper medium. So you're carrying these characters. Oh, they love Iron Man. They're not going to buy an Iron Man comic from the 60s or mid 70s. They can't afford it. And do you want the story to stop for them? No, you want them to get into the story. When you get some money, we'll hook you up with something else. But I get those questions all the time, but people think, hey, comic book guy, you should have an Action Comics #1 on your show. I'm like, what? Why?
You know how much that goes for? Action Comics one.
That's $1 million or $2 million, depending on what condition, because you got to figure it's like
you get a mint condition Action Comics 1. I mean, that's like you're set for life if you sold that.
I don't even think there's any mint condition.
Yeah,
I mean, dude.
I have the reprint of that in Detective Comics 27. But that's the reprint. That's nothing compared to the value of one from 38 and 39.
I was in the presence of an original one at Comic-Con, and there was like a guard next to it, and all kinds.
Oh, that's the kind of thing where it's like they carry those there in those briefcases. They have to get handcuffed to. Yeah.
And the guy here at Torpedo, I think he can afford one because he's got millions. But I want to join the Blue Beetle. We watch the movie on Twitch and do a stream. Yeah, we're gonna do that. But for Patreons, I'll have it in there for you. We'll do it just like we did Howard the Duck.
Yeah.
So that's
the first time you've mentioned Howard the Duck of your own volition on the stream.
Yeah, because I kind of had to. William, woo.
Let's do the time warp again.
I will come to St. Louis and pull your ears off your head. Because I've seen the movie 2,000 times. There's a light. It's actually my favorite one. I love that part of the movie because there's a part where Riff Raff comes out and we have Howard's window. We're doing this show, by the way. We do the show here regularly, but we're doing our third annual Halloween presentation at Ellis Island Casino, and it's the most fun I have all year. But yeah, there's a part where Riff Raff comes out and does his little solo of it, So
which, by the way, there's a lot. I'm a better singer than I just made myself sound right there.
Yeah, we're gonna clip that too.
Yeah, but I actually when I was in Tampa Comic Con about 8 years ago in 2015, I didn't drop in on this, but they did do a Rocky Horror show there. And now this is how you do it too, because they showed the movie, but they also had people like acting it out, kind of in tandem with it. Okay, yeah, because that's what they were doing. I just kind of poked my head and checked that out, and it was it's pretty wild.
Yeah, because I've seen it. Yep.
I've seen it theatrically, but I haven't seen it like that. I mean, because they had because they pulled all the bells and whistles. They had the best Frankenfurter I've seen in my life too for that one. Also,
I mean, we've got people in costume, we got people in rice, we got people. We have the toilet paper, everything. We have prop kits that you throw. There's noisemakers, there's cards, because there's certain things that they say that, and when they say those things, you throw the stuff out there. I'll show you guys when we do it. If you look at my my pages now, my social media now, you'll see that there's you'll see some of the scenes that we did from when we do it. So yeah, we go all out. The Sci-Fi Center actually has its own cast. If you ever look up science fiction double feature Las Vegas, that's us.
Okay.
So I don't know what happened there, but yeah, it's so yeah, I'm good. Hi, Randy. Hi, Dopey. She lives here in Vegas with me. The AI boom right now has been overextended, especially with artist protection. Yeah, I just see a lot of conversation going on about it. It's weird. It's like you're either afraid of it, people are afraid of it, or they're embracing it. I have stayed away largely from the AI thing because I don't have the understanding of it that a lot of people do. A lot of people spend whole shows on it. I haven't done that yet. So I guess I'll figure it out as it goes along, but I understand the risk involved. From almost everything I know about the AI has come from the strike, because of the threats and everything else that are going along with that. And a lot of people, obviously, if you are acting in something, you don't want your likenesses to necessarily be used in perpetuity, because that's kind of screwed up. I mean, people are going to want to get paid every time their likenesses are used. So that's what I know about it. So I'm fully anti-AI, any art industry. Yeah, because like I said, that's someone's work, so. All right, yeah, you cannot keep AI in the bottle, but once again, just like I said, with any when you have any new technology, you just have to be responsible about it. You have to regulate it. You have to, like I said, I don't think there's a strike situation that is going to be the answer for AI. I think it's going to be regulations in Congress and laws that are passed, and that'll trump any type of collective bargaining agreement, because it'll be federal law at that point. So, all right, let's see. Study chokehold. All right, at 10, I guess it's subjective. Rebel Moon is an original story that was inspired by it's loosely inspired by Star Wars, but if you want to go any deeper, you can use Kurosawa's work, because a lot of the people who worked on these type of movies, including George Lucas, was heavily influenced by him. Let's see. All right, Vince Vaughn said he saw the Argyle trailer, was only about the first 28 minutes of the movie, as well as scenes from the trailer, but vastly different than the actual movie gave out. That's cool. I'm all for it, because I that movie looks awesome. That's on my list. Man. I think it's on streaming. Yeah, it's on demand.
Okay, back. Is it on HBO Max yet?
I don't think it's on HBO Max, but I think Vince has he has it down digital already. All right, so let's see. We're gonna get some of these chats, and then we're gonna. All right, cool. All right, so now we're gonna get into some of our topics. So now we got past the strike, thank goodness.
For info tonight, because it's gonna be there tomorrow.
Yeah, it's gonna be there forever. All right, so let's see. Oh, by the way, guys, if you feel charitable tonight, you can always donate or join the Patreon. Patrons, we've been having a lot of fun with the Patreon lately. I mean, it's a cool thing to be a part of. But you can also donate. You can donate the tip link that I'm putting in all the streams. And here is the Patreon for a lot of you guys that are watching right now are already patrons. But if you are not and you want to be involved, it's
and if you join, agree to do 3 more Howard the Duck streams.
I can't. Yeah, that's going to take a lot more than I think people have to get. All right. So what is on my agenda tonight? Let's start with, we're going to start with the death of physical media, even though that was the last topic I had.
Yeah, that was because that, for those of you who haven't seen, that kind of, that was another bit of unexpected news this week, where Best Buy announced that I think it's not immediate, but like by sometime like mid next year, they're going to no longer be selling Blu-rays and DVDs. Which is interesting. I mean, timing with that, because I mean, it's just coming off of when Hulu put out the Blu-ray for Prey, which is so I'm glad I got that when I did. You got it at my local Best Buy, but yeah, you from the thumbnail, it sounded like I'm gonna let you have the lore on this, because it sounded like you think this is like kind of like the beginning of the end for like the Blu-ray physical media age, or are we just going strictly to digital now, or what?
I don't think it's possible, especially with, I had it brought up on the thing, especially with the way this strike is going to change the landscape of revenue and things like that. It's going to be almost impossible to keep everything on streaming if you're talking about having to pay residuals and extra rights and everything else. So it's so right now you have a place to go see these things. It's on streaming, but now as these, as the price to keep it on there goes up, you're going to see stuff like that disappear. So I don't know if people are going to be okay without having some of the things that they like to be able to have access to them, unless they pay an exorbitant amount of money, like renting them on YouTube and things like that.
I mean, it does make me glad, because I've bought I have multiple copies of ZSJL, because I mean, especially with the circumstances of that movie, it's like once it hit Blu-ray, it's like I got the Blu-ray, I got 2 of the Blu-ray 4K combo packs, so that's where it has the 4K and the Blu-ray in it. So I guess that's like 4 individual physical copies of it, and I got the Amazon download. So because of how the difficulties of that movie coming out, it's like I was making.
We fought so hard to get it. You're like a dog and get the bone,
I'm making sure I've got this thing for good.
Yeah, there's too many things that go away when you lose physical media. And when we talk about physical media, it's not, the Best Buy is the latest ones that have done it. And when we talk about physical media there, we're talking about DVDs, Blu-rays, in some cases VHSs, depending on who you carry.
Yeah.
I think it is cyclical. I think we're going to go through a period of time where it's going to come back. There's too many ways that it hurts when you don't do it. Like I said, I always say when you don't have those random encounters, you really hurt your market. Because it's not always good to get everything off of Amazon. Amazon is convenient, it's great, but it changes the culture of your audience and what they're willing to accept, buy, and how enthusiastic they get into it when it's just a click away. When you don't have that community going to video places, going to record stores, going to bookstores, when you don't have that community to develop and shape your culture, it ends up hurting. That's why you see Amazon about to open up brick and mortar stores. That's why you see Netflix about to open up a physical store.
I mean, that's why people like us go to cons, because
exactly
because there is that that communal experience with it. And actually, I just thought it. And this just occurred to me too. We'll go ahead and finish your point. I'll get back to that.
Well, yeah, and what you're saying, and it's the same thing. It's like you can only shape how you're going to approach your customer so much from the internet. You really need to see. There's a lot of data. There's a lot of things that you want to know. What is somebody willing to get into their car and drive down to see? What is somebody willing to do? How is the difference between having a human behind a counter talk to you and give you information about what you're interested in versus just a drop down menu or something like that? How does that affect your sales? How do you make adjustments on the fly to where you're when a customer comes in, the tone in their voice and how excited they were the last time you saw them? How do you can't replicate that? And I think that's going to end up hurting the retail industry simply because we as humans are a people type of species.
It's something my dad's always told me. It's we're social animals.
Yeah, and it's not something you can convenience away. I know it's easy, it's cool. I use Amazon all the time, but I don't use it to, I don't want to see that as the only option because, like I said, a lot of the data points and a lot of what makes these products better comes from the interaction. Like, when somebody walks into your store and how you've displayed something and how you've explained something is as much a part of whether that person's going to buy it than anything else. Letting them know, the human story behind, like I said, if I were ever going to sell this, there's a human story behind that.
Behind the autograph on it.
Yeah, there's not. It doesn't necessarily, translate over the internet, and it's just the kind of things, and just having that collectability of it. I mean, like I said before, I don't think physical media will ever die to the point where you won't have special box sets and designs. Like I said, even though physical media is dying, I just laid out a whole way that you could sell that chapter, the Dark Side chapter, in physical media, and it would sell like hot.
Oh god, and that the one you lay out in particular of the globe that it turns like scorched earth when it's
exactly
conquered by apocalypse. It's like that's like, I mean, why? Yeah. Like, how are studio heads not thinking of these things that we're talking about in this dream?
Yeah, a dummy like me came up with it, and you guys can have that. DC, blast off. If you're watching, you can have that idea. It's free on me, but stuff like that is going to sell no matter what, because you can sell that anywhere. You can sell that at the Walmart. You can sell it at a toy store. You can sell.
Okay, I mean, literally with that, the packaging is part of the. It's not just what you're getting inside of it. The packaging is also a collector's item.
Yeah, I literally watched somebody buy like an Odd Couples DVD that was shaped some way. The with the two guys that Klugman on it, something like that. Somebody bought that. I've seen people buy Golden Girls stuff. I've seen people who didn't know anything beyond what a Battlestar Galactica was bought the collected edition of the entire series because it was done in the Cylon head. So there is those things will sell, and that's why I think that should be alive. But like I said, it's that random interaction. It's that, the gathering of people. That's how we've evolved as a culture. And I don't even think with the new generations that have been born into this, even you're still human, you're still social, to the point where I don't know if digital is going to be enough for everybody. It's like, you go to bars, because there's liquor there, but you can get liquor anywhere. Why do you go to a bar? You can watch the game at home, but you go to the game. So for those of you who can afford, but that option to go to the game is there, and the games sell out. You can watch a video of Metallica playing, but you want to go not just to see the band live, but you want to be around your fellow metalheads. And I still think that is there. So when I see physical media going away and people stop carrying it, I don't know if it's going to be forever. I really don't think it's going to be forever. People told me vinyl was going to go away, and there's 3 record stores within the vicinity of the Sci-Fi Center. If vinyl's going away, and every time I go in there, there's people buying vinyl. So I hope it's a cyclical thing. I think it is, but it's got to be the consumer. The consumer has to appreciate this stuff. I mean, it's going away now because people have chosen streaming and everything else. But like I said, eventually you're going to desire more than just that. The movie experience. I mean, that's the same justification for getting rid of cinemas. Then if you're going to do that. So,
yeah. And by the way, this is sort of related, but it sort of triggered a bit of a meme I tend to share we're coming up on the holidays, so I guess it's relevant now. It's related to Jingle All the Way, which I think is actually a very underrated Christmas movie. But it was like the meme is something like if Jingle All the Way happened today, and it's got that image of Arnold looking all panda, like I have to get the Doubleman for Jamie, and it's like a comic strip where it's like he says that, and then it shows him clicking on Amazon, ordering it, then the end. So it's like you're changing that movie. It's like it comes out today because of Amazon, things like that.
Yeah, and there's things like what she's saying, like I said, make it a collectible. I mean, I think gone are the days of just putting out season.
I remember actually a lot of the when they started putting the Simpsons box sets on DVD for each season. It's like a lot of them were shaped like the different characters' heads. So like you would open up, it'd be like Marge's head or it'd be Homer's head and things like that.
And the packaging, because it's cheap to make the markup of manufacturing a DVD and Blu-ray, it's not. It's high. I mean, it's very profitable, and mass producing packaging, to make it a collectible and resale value and all that is, like Knight Rider. I can think of any TV show from the 80s. I already know what I want the Knight Rider, the package to look like, but it better have Kit's little thing going back and forth, And
Yeah, I can
that's
imagine
something.
the packaging on that.
Yeah, and everything that comes out. So Oppenheimer. So if I'm doing Oppenheimer, I don't want just a little,
You make the box set the box look like a mushroom cloud.
You make the box, or you make it look like the bomb itself. There's a lot of things you can do with these things. Barbie, oh my goodness, you think Barbie's not going to make a crap ton on the? I mean, you could see one coming with a Barbie doll, and all the different Barbies that are in the movie have their own dolls that come with the Blu-ray. That would sell out. So there's certain ways that they can do it, and that's why I think social media, not social media, physical media will never truly die in that respect, because there's still money to be made. And like I said, with the way streaming, like Blade Runner is now back on HBO Max, but it's been a couple of years not on HBO Max because it got sold to other streamers that I don't want to sign up for, or they put it on PVOD for a little bit, and that's how they make their money on it. But I want to be able to, if I have HBO Max, granted, I have Blade Runner 2049, but you know what? If I'm sitting and I just want to scroll through with my remote, I want to be able to go and have the convenience on putting it on whenever I want to watch it without going through a lot of a hassle. And with the way I think the actual strike situation is going to cause a reverse in physical media dying as much as it would have without the strike, because when you tell the customer that, hey, this may not be there for your convenience, you might want to grab it. Yeah, that might help. So let's see. Fourth is part of the show. I demand satisfaction. What fourth is demand? What are we demanding from fourth?
And don't give them any ideas.
Yeah. What is fourth? What's going on with fourth?
I think he's probably saying something crazy in the comments. Let me check it out.
I'm trying to see what. Okay, so I'm there's so many comments right now, so I gotta get down. So yeah, that's how I added that as a yeah, I added that last, but I should probably added that. That was one of the first things that I atomic wedgie. Oh my goodness, that's one of the things that that kind of bothered me, but I always I think that the digital thing won't be the permanent of it. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I definitely hope that there is a symbiosis. I mean, we've seen, back when TV first came about and people thought that was going to be the death of movie theaters, and of course that turned out very differently. So I definitely would like there to be a harmonious coexistence between physical media and digital. I mean, it's like digital has plenty of upsides too. I mean, I love the fact that I can on my tablet have so much stuff I can just pull up on my Amazon and just stream it. I mean, it's definitely a space saver and it's good for traveling, and things like that. But about the advantages of physical media, including with situations like with the Snyder Cut, they're very unique. It's that there's also a lot of both practical and sentimental value to that, to maintaining that.
Yeah, and like I said, I think that social gathering experiment is something that is something that's important for humankind, no matter what country you're in or what period of time you're in. So still trying to figure out what was going on with fourth. All right, I don't know. All right, so let's go. So we got that out the way. All right, so we're gonna go to the two major things that were announced at New York Comic Con, and we're gonna start with DC and the Elseworlds imprint.
Yes,
I know a lot of stuff that happened at New York Comic Con, but this is in order not to be here, till tomorrow afternoon. Oops, that's no, that's the wrong one. I don't want that one. I want this one. She got two things from there: the follow X and let's see, right, the follow X. All right, here we go. This is actually from DC's actual announcement page. All right,
And yeah, and actually, I offline I messaged this to you because I knew this was definitely going to be to your liking, both comics wise and potentially film wise in terms of the template that it's reasserting.
Yeah, the most underused imprint that in comics right now is Elsewolrds. So do I have it up on the screen? All right. Sounds like a party going on over there, huh?
Yeah. Oh yeah, the neighbors. There's something tonight.
All right, where are we? DC. Okay, DC returns to Elseworlds, an all-new lineup of out-of-continuity series from comics. Top storytellers scheduled to launch in 2024. All right, New York, and Burbank. Oh wow, why did they have to write this so small? New York Comic Con, DC announced the return of Elseworlds line of comics, revealing upcoming comic book titles: Gotham by Gaslight, The Kryptonian Age, Batman the Barbarian, Green Lantern Dark, with more to come. Scheduled to publish in 2024. DC's new Elseworlds lineup will also include sequels to the best-selling series Dark Knights of Steel and DC versus Vampires, which is a very good selling book. DC's original Elseworlds Elseworlds line was established in 1991 with the release of Batman Holy Terror by Alan Brennan and Norm Brayfogle. Man, he was great. For the next 2 decades, Elseworlds became the host of new and innovative storylines featuring DC superheroes and settings outside the regular DC comic book continuity. This new direction produced enduring iconic stories such as Kingdom Come, Mark Waid and Alex Ross, Batman and Dracula Red Rain, by Doug Munch and Kelly Jones, who were working on Batman at the time. Superman Red Sun by Mark Millar, Dave Johnson, and Killian Plunkett. Justice League The Nail by Alan Davis and more. Out-of-continuity stories have always been a pillar of DC publishing. Wow, where have I heard that before? Granting creators the ability to explore the wild corners of the DC universe, said executive editor Ben Abernathy. We're excited to bring a whole new slate of titles under the Elseworlds banner in 2024, combining some of the new titles with top storytellers, as well as sequels from the current line that fit the same out of continuity aesthetic. DC's new Elseworld line will include Gotham by Gaslight, Kryptonian Age, Batman the Barbarian. There's that right there. That looks like a Frazetta type of thing. That's heavily influenced. That might have been. Batman the Barbarian is brutal and remarkable retelling of Batman's origin against a rugged medieval Earth, written and drawn by Eisner Award-winning Greg Smallwood, the Human Target. Ooh, I love his work. And there's the Dark Lantern one. New York Times bestselling writer Jay Kristoff, Empire of the Vampire and Aurora Cycle. And Dark Knights of Steel, All Winter. So there's some of that right there. So there's a lot. There's a lot going on here.
No, and as RJ just pointed out, and I have seen people take some issue with this, is that it is DC Elseworlds, but the majority announced are Batman books, so hopefully it does expand to other characters, which I think it will.
It will, but what have I always said? When it comes to DC, it starts and ends with Batman and Superman, mainly Batman. You will get when we were doing Elseworlds before, you had a lot of it was Batman heavy to begin with because it was the demand. The customer demanded Batman. They just wanted to see Batman in different situations. And that's why I always tell people Batman will sell on any format you put him on. You don't have to worry about too many Batman. You have to worry about bad Batman stories, watering things down. But if it's good shit, people are going to buy it. So I'm loving this. It should have never gone away. It was the direct, like I said, if Crisis worked, you wouldn't have Elseworlds. I'm sorry. If Crisis was worth doing, then you wouldn't have had Elseworlds literally inside of 5 years. It came out, I remember 91 is when it came out, and Crisis effects were still happening in 1980. The effects of Crisis spread all the way to 1990. And while you were still going through the reverberation of Crisis, they were working on Elseworlds, and then 3 years later, they were working on 0 Hour. So yeah, Go ahead.
Well, like one thing I did want to, and because I knew this, this would feed into like DC Studios talk. And now this is, I mean, nothing, there's been no commentary or any announcement to suggest this officially, but with James Gunn having said that he has his DCU slate and he has anything outside of that will be in the Elseworlds banner. I don't know how much like direct coordination there is between, or there is going to be between DC Studios and DC Comics. Do you think that this is intentional in terms of we're kicking this off in the comics to kind of prep people for the idea of Elseworlds, as a part of our movie and TV side too? Do you think that this is like kind of like a dry run for that?
Yes, because like I said, what needs to happen before is the best way to eliminate any confusion about any story that you want to tell outside the current continuity is to let people know first what the context is, what it's going to be sold in. Like if I'm selling you something, I'm going to let you, before I even let you know what I'm selling, I'm going to let you know that, if I want you to be a customer of mine at Walmart, I'm going to build the Walmart first. I got to build the Walmart before you buy anything from me. I have to have it out there, and I have to have you comfortable coming into my store and coming into my environment and understanding this is going to be how it goes. This is over here. This is over there. This is how much this is. This is how often we do this and that. And then I start bringing in the particulars, because after I've wowed you and told you how and showed you around and showed you just what the trends are here and how cheap things are here, now I sell you this soda. But you have, there's a whole bunch of other stores with this soda. Even you got a different soda, but this is ours within the context of what we are doing. This soda in Brad's liquor store is not the same as how we're presenting it to you here, because if we're presenting you into our environment and we're doing it a different way. If you establish that beachhead that this is different, the whole point of this is that this is not your mainline universe, and you make sure along with while doing that, you establish your mainline universe as your mainline universe. That way people know. And you start by branding him. You start by having people have the conversation of what Elseworlds is. That's the first thing we have to get out of the way, is people need to understand full-throated what Elseworlds is. Once they understand what Elseworlds is, they will understand the context of anything that comes through it.
Okay, and as I mentioned on the Patreon stream today, like a lot of in terms of their comic book stories, a lot of my favorites of what they've done in the last decade or so have been the Earth 1 graphic novels, but which that is Elseworlds. That's not like mainline continuity, but it also didn't have the Elseworlds label on it. But I mean, Earth 1 itself is also kind of a branding of its own. But like you said, Elseworlds, that's very effective in terms of communicating the idea of Elseworlds.
Yeah, this should be a branding this should be a branding that before this is a Pepsi. Without me writing Pepsi on it, this is Pepsi. All right, there are certain things, that I can show you the red S with the yellow background and it doesn't have to say Superman on it. That's the kind of branding you really want to do with Elseworlds, because then their minds are opened and trained to, this is what I'm going to get. Here's my expectations of it. There's no reason for me to be confused on this, because you've already told me what this world is. I automatically know before you told me story one that where this story is and the context of what this story is. That's part of doing your job as a storyteller and a showrunner and anything, is you establish the hallmarks of your story, and then you fit your story in there. And then when you're a reader, you lead your reader where you want them to be. You read your audience where you want them to be. You let them in and you give them the information that they need, and you give them the direction to go with. And doing this now, establishing this on any format is the right thing to do.
And actually, one thing I do hope, actually, as part of it, this is more on the comic side, is that, because one gripe, of course, I think people by and large have had with Earth 1, I mean, the quality of it aside, is the fact that the release has been, I mean, rather sporadic literally over like the last 13 years. I mean, Aquaman and Flash Earth 1, we're still waiting on those. So I do hope that, them officially establishing Elseworlds does kind of create more of a mandate to accelerate a lot of the stuff they haven't done yet in the Earth 1 line.
Yeah, and it's just a matter of frequency too. That's another thing that's hurt DC, not just on the comic book scale, but it's really hurt them on the movie scale. There's just been no frequency. Their output with these movies has been pathetic. Now, if you don't have things going on in your main universe, then that's where you have things going on in your Elseworlds universe. But because it's a lot of it is fear and unfounded fear of confusion, which, like I said, I just told you, and there's nobody that comes into the store, any comic store that I know of, who would not understand that branding. People don't need to be rocket scientists to follow branding. Hell, they don't even need to be able to read, to be honest with you. Like I just said, this is a soda. This is one of the 2 top brands of soda. You don't even need to read Pepsi on it, right? And when you see that Elsewolrds logo and whatever sound that comes with it, do I need to know that there's quality television coming when I hear that zoom and that static comes from HBO? No, because I already know the standard. I already know that something good is coming. I already know that something important is coming. And I know that something is not only is it important, but it's different than everything else that's coming on that particular network. Like back in the day where you would have the Monday night movie, or that in CBS, they would have that little musical thing that would play before their movie of the week. I always knew, even before I could read or add, before I knew anything, I knew that whatever was about to happen was special and different from everything else that I'd been watching during the week. And that's how you do it. There is no, if there's confusion, that means you need to fire people because you don't have the right people telling the story and laying it out. Because there's like I said, you could get a toddler who does not know how to read, doesn't know how to write, and you could show that toddler something different, and he's going to know it's different. And a grown man or woman is going to be able to do the same. And with Elseworlds, you got a logo, you got everything you need to make this work. This right here, all the particulars that they've given you here are great. But right there, that's what you need. This right here, that Elseworlds logo. That should be on shirts. That should be on magnets. That should be before you even give me the first thing that you're ever going to give me in this. That should be on stuff that you give away, handbags. At Comic-Con, there should be a booth just for Elseworlds. It should be that important. Just like you brand the houses of Game of Thrones, you brand the houses of DC. Elseworlds is one. You want to do Earth 1 or 2. And when I watch Game of Thrones and I'm watching all those people on the same screen, do I have any confusion of who's a Lannister and who's not? No, because they've shown me who is. They've branded it. There's a lion on the Lannister's chest. There's a dragon on the chest of a Targaryen. They've branded those people to where we were rooting against each other watching Game of Thrones. It's called branding. If you brand it, you'll be fine. There won't be any confusion. And I think that with Elseworlds coming back, and there was a lot of fear about Elseworlds after all the reboots DC's done with their comics, would it confuse people? No, obviously they realized that it didn't, because Elseworlds is coming back. Why? Because just the fact that you're doing it Elseworld is the number one thing you need to know to not confuse yourself. So I love the fact that Elseworlds is coming back. But yeah, we need it back, and we need it back on different levels. And I need everybody involved in DC to fall in line with it, to fall in line and give yourself options. What Elseworlds does is it gives the creator and the oversight of the creative teams room to move around and do creative things, because they're going to put some good stuff out. I know it, because there's no such thing for me as a bad Elseworlds tale. So,
I mean, like I said, talking about Earth 1, I mean, that's some of the best storytelling I think DC has done in the last decade. Like, again, and I mentioned on the Patreon stream, I mean, go back and read Superman Earth 1. I'm telling you, you will be. It's just mind blowing how close Man of Steel ended up following that. I mean, so it's not just great storytelling; it's also influential storytelling. And yeah, that was the comment RJ dropped that I mentioned, which is
he's right, but that's the way you do it. You get them in with Batman because that's your best-selling book. But that doesn't mean that once I have you in the door, though, I'm going to give you some Green Lantern. I'm going to give you Wonder Woman, Dead Earth, like, with Black Label. A lot of Black Label was primarily Batman heavy, but there's a lot of DC Black Label stuff out there, like, that you can get into, and it'll be the same. People are going to want to see this contrast, and that's one of the strengths that DC has always had, but they don't use. and they really should be using it on all their mediums. I don't, whether it's animation, film, anything like that. And I know I always bring it up as a tool that you can resolve Zack Snyder's arc with, but that's not just that. This is a vast tool.
Yeah, that's the tip of the iceberg. Yeah.
Yeah, this is such a tool you can be using, but you consistently maintain it. You consistently let people know that, hey, this is the prime universe. Right now, this universe we're talking, this is the prime one. So whenever you see this logo that's on our screen right now, you know you're not in that universe anymore.
Well, really, the prime universe really is kind of, in a lot of ways, when you have Elseworlds, a multiverse storytelling, the prime universe is whichever one the individual reader or audience member decides is the one they gravitate towards the most.
Yeah.
So, and now one thing I do want to ask too, with that, because you just had the Elseworlds label up, and that's what is used on to label comics Elseworlds. Would you use that same logo for Elseworlds movies and Elseworlds TV?
Exactly. Yep.
So you just copy and paste that for okay.
Yes. You want it branded. You want a unifying thread that binds all your platforms together. And there's so many places where they could go to understand that. They could go to the comics and see examples of it. And you want that to be a recognizable logo. You want that to be as recognizable logo as DC is, the actual DC logo is. And you want it synonymous, and you want that contrast known. You want that contrast known. You want to know that, Febreze made this Air Ocean, but they also make linen too. And when I show you the linen, it's going to be white and all that, but it's all under the same house. And you want to expose people to that variety and let them have that. And I found that when you give people variety, they don't just stick to one thing. They generally, if there's multiple Batman stories being told in comics, the people will, even if they prefer to start off with Detective Comics, they eventually go over to wherever Batman
to Legends of the Dark Knight or Brave and the
yeah, and it could be a different tone story, it could be a different tone artwork, it could be completely different. It's still Batman, and there's a reason why Batman sells all the time, is because it's Batman. There are certain things about that character that intrigue people no matter what format he is on, and he's been the one that's been experimented on all these formats. So that's why you got a lot of Batman stuff in there. But that's, like I said, that doesn't mean that's where it ends. That just means that they're using their most successful IP on all levels.
Just means that's where it begins.
Yeah, exactly. But you see a Green Lantern one's happening there. I'm pretty sure you'll see a Wonder Woman one happening there. So yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's 90%. It's Batman heavy. But let's see. I'm looking. Okay. Let's see. A lot of back label is the writers are given more free reign, like when it's implied that Batman and Superman were sexually assaulted in prison. And I remember Enosh went completely crazy over that. I remember that because it was implied that because he was caught in Russia or something like that, and that he was sodomized. I'm like,
is that in Red Sun?
Yeah, no, Superman Red, Superman Blue, or something like that, Red and Blue. So yeah, it's all right. So let's see. Just making sure.
Which, by the way, that's itself, that's an Elseworlds story, but again, that was without the Elseworlds label or without the we're pushing the Elseworlds brand. That's just it's not in continuity, but they weren't aggressively emphasizing that. I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory because it is Russian Superman, but still it didn't have that. It didn't have that Elseworlds logo on it, as you see on Kingdom Come and a lot of the Elseworlds stuff from the 90s.
Yeah, I'm just kind of looking through. Let's see, guarantee here to the show. All right. Let's see, guys, I gotta let you know I'm not going to get to every post on this particular show. There's just a pace that we have to move the show along. So if I skip your post, sorry. But that's the nature of the beast on Saturday. That's why I'm adding in a call-in section at the end of the show, so you guys can
pick our brain a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, because like I said, I guess Forth said I was skipping some of his posts. I can't get to all your posts, dude. You have a lot of posts and they're big, and depending on what we're actually talking about, I try not to get thrown off of what we're actually talking about, because then it gets bogged down. So, all right. So yes, DC Elseworlds. So we got that. In the actual premise, I brought up the actual premise of is a publication imprint for a group of comic books produced by DC Comics that take place outside the company canon. Unlike Marvel Comics counterpart, What If, which bases its stories on a single point of divergence from the regular continuity, most Elseworlds stories instead take place in an entirely self-contained continuities whose only connection to the canon DC continuity are the presence of familiar DC characters, which is perfect. And there's a whole thing, Gotham by Gaslight, that was about Jack the Ripper. That was one of my favorite ones. There's one, where Batman's a vampire, and if you look at it, like you were bringing up, Brad, there's a lot of things that they've done that are technically Elseworlds, but without the brand, and I think that was a mistake. I think that's been a mistake that they have been at for quite a while. I think that you should have kept the Elseworlds brand, but you
I mean, the closest
guys like
thing,
John, you didn't want people questioning their continuity issues.
Yeah, I mean, the closest probably they had is Earth One, which that's a brand, but these Elseworlds, that's a good kind of catch-all for it.
Yeah, and it's convenient, and it's got the logo, it's got the recognition. People know what it is, and it's easily explainable. Even if you can't explain necessarily the intricate details of everything, you don't need to. You just need to get them started in that direction. So. All right. Let's see. All right. So Elseworlds, I think we covered Elseworlds in detail. Anybody got any questions about Elseworlds? Because I love Elseworlds. I am a big fan of Elseworlds.
And you find that out very quickly if you watch William streams with more than one stream, and probably not even that much.
Like I said, I just think it's a tool that just has not been properly used or used as much as it could be used, and especially in movie, they would have saved themselves a lot of grief in their cinematic universe if they would have just.
And they still can.
Yeah, and I think they still will. I think Gunn is looking into it, and I just, like I said, I'll be patient enough as this stuff goes out, and as I see it coming out, because I got there's a lot of things that I would like to see tackled, because like I said, there's a good chance I may not like the DCU, but I might still want to be engaged in DC content. I still may want to see a Superman, but it just may not. Maybe that version doesn't appeal to me.
There's one rumor going around. I don't know how true this is. I mean, especially with Gunn not having revealed this old slate, but there's one rumor I've seen that he wants to do an adaptation of Justice League New Frontier, which anybody familiar with that, I mean, that would need an update because that is basically the Justice League in the Cold War, but that is actually one of my favorite animated DC movies, and yeah, that definitely gives very ripe material for telling like a Justice League story.
Yeah, so here we are going to talk about all right, so the thing I'm going to focus on for the New York Comic Con as far as Marvel goes is going to be, I think it's the biggest story that they had. I'll probably go into detail later on, but for some of you guys who weren't there. All right, NYCC 2023, The Rise and Fall of X-Men's Krakoa Age revealed, straight from the Marvel Next Big Thing panel at New York Comic Con. Learn about the series. All right, this trailer is cool, but I don't know if I can play it. I watched the trailer. Also debuting. Okay, so you're gonna have 2019 fans witness the dawn of the Krakoan Age, and Jonathan Hickman's groundbreaking House of X and Powers of X, two interconnected 5-issue limited series span mutant history and future. Now that the Krakoan Age ends, and in the same dramatic fashion as Fall of the House of X and Rise of the Powers of X, each delivering a half of the story that will bring Krakoa Age to its conclusion. The pair of series will feature the X-Men of today and the X-Men of tomorrow as they wage the final war between extinction across the entire existence. Evolution is inevitable. Extinction is optional. And there's the post report.
William, real quick, I'm going to jump off for a second. I'm going to move over from my laptop to my desktop, so I'll be off for like 2 minutes, but I'll be right back on here.
Okay, cool.
Right. You're back.
Here's one of the posters that come from it. And here's number one that hits in January. And Rise of Powers of X number one. Resurrection of Magneto. That's part of the storyline. That's a great Storm cover. So yeah, that was one of the big things. I think this is going to be pretty cool. I mean, I know that the response to some of the Hickman stuff hasn't, the Hickman related stuff hasn't always been 100%, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the Krakoa Age. It had Spider-Man. like not everybody enjoyed it, but I think it was 50-50, but they took a lot of risk with this that you just don't generally, especially with a lot of risk when you consider what X-Men is to people. So I applaud them on that. Not all of it worked out, but I still enjoyed it. Anthony Manzano Williams, Black Label, just more raunchy version of our Elsewolrds version. It's a little bit more of a more edgier version of the stories that you would sell to the general audience. So hold on real quick. All right, I'm just looking at messages that I'm getting. It's more of an edgier version, like Batman Damn was, had a lot of edgier stuff in it. They had to repeat because Batman's junk, they had to reprint it because Batman's junk is in one of them. So they took that out of there. It's a little bit more edgier. I don't know if it's necessarily considered a different reality, but it's definitely a harder edge, whereas Elseworlds is a complete continuity altogether. For me, Gotham by Gaslight is going to be number one. Red Sun is going to be number two. Kingdom Come. I'm sorry. Kingdom Come's number one. Gotham by Gaslight is number two. Red Sun is number three. Let's pull some of these up because it's been a while since I've read some of these. Yeah. Batman Red Rain, the Vampire Story, number 4. I got to pull them up again. I had them all up here. Worlds. But yeah, definitely Kingdom Come is number 1. Let's see. Gotham by Gaslight, Superman Speeding Bullet, JLA the Nail. Well, Batman Darkest Night. Batman Darkest Night will be Batman Red and Dracula Red Blood was very good, but it would go Kingdom Come, Gotham by Gaslight, Superman Red Sun, Batman Darkest Night, and then I'm going to go ahead and then go with Batman and Dracula Red Rain. Get those out of there. Get that out of there. So we're done with the Powers of X, but yeah, that's going to be the big thing coming with Marvel this January 24th. So I'm going to already start pre-ordering that. All right. Let's see.
Actually, I saw bring up something Spider-Man. I did want to address. He asked what I said about New Frontier. You said I thought Cook wrote Frontier in 2006. So it was really well. It would need an update because assuming that if this is something that Gunn wants to do, it would need an update because it takes place during the Korean War, and I mean, unless as far as we can tell, it's like everything Gunn is doing right. It seems to be set in modern day. So if you were going to do that, you would need to rework that to be kind of a more contemporary story. But again, it's one of my favorites of the DC animated movies because it's so well suited for an Elseworld story.
All right. I dropped the link in the chat in a couple minutes after we're done with our let's see,
main topic. So yeah, we're gonna let all hell break loose.
Yeah, hold on. So we have so
the fourth is gonna come on and say, when are we doing Howard the Duck again?
Yeah, I'm surprised he left because he knew we were doing a college stream. But okay, so our comic book story of the week is Days of Future Past. I got to sneeze, but it won't come out. Um, hold on. That's bothering the shit out of me. Days of Future Past is probably one of the. It goes without saying what this story means on to comic book collectors and now moviegoers. I think that it is for me the best X-Men movie that Fox did. It's a storyline that is when Stan Lee and Jack Kirby and company created the X-Men. Obviously we talked about this last week, and I was hesitant about putting a back-to-back X-Men stories, but this was remember how I told you everything that was relevant in X-Men #1 started here, or started in X-Men #1, but would be relevant throughout the next 50, 60 years of X-Men. Here's one of those things, because not only was, when you look at what was going on in the Days of Future Past, it's, for those of you who don't know, Days of Future Past, and I'll go ahead and read it, the synopsis.
It's basically the Holocaust for mutants.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. There's concentration camps. There's all kinds of stuff in here, and it doesn't have issues. So yeah, basically what it is, it is a alternate future in which the Sentinels have pretty much taken over, and mutant kind is basically being hunted down to extinction, and they're being put into camps, and they're being exterminated. But the main antagonist is the Sentinels. And one of the most famous covers I think they ever did, this was John Byrne's cover, was this one right here. There's the two most famous covers that they did, and this is X-Men. This is 1981. This is an older Wolverine, an adult Kitty Pryde, and a captured X-Men. John Byrne, Spun Fan. Yeah, and they did a game on this by TSR, and this is all behind them. You see all the X-Men that have been killed in the process of all this, and Wolverine and Kitty Pryde are one of the last ones. So this takes place in the distant future. This is also the future that Rachel Summers comes from, if I'm not correct. She would come back in time from this future, and there's another one. This is probably if you had to list top 10 most famous X-Men covers, this one's got to be there.
Yeah.
Wolverine being disintegrated, and then when you read the actual comic, he's disintegrated and it's just his bones. But yeah, in this issue, everybody dies. The text from the cover says it all. This issue, everybody dies. With Chris Claremont and John Byrne's team up coming to an end. They went all out to include, this was the end of John Byrne's run, by the way. Days of Future Past, he would end up leaving Marvel. Everything, and everybody dies in this issue, but it is basically it's basically what could happen, and and they would always come back to this. They would always come back to this. Hold on for a second, because there's a little bit more of a context. They come back to it even now, because, like I said, the Sentinels basically took over from even the people that build them. Future Past. All right, Marvel X-Men storyline. All right, Days of Future Past is a storyline of Marvel Comics books, Uncanny X-Men, issues 141 to 142, published in 1981. It deals with the dystopian future in which mutants are incarcerated in internment camps. An adult Kitty Pryde transfers her mind into her younger self, the present-day Kitty Pryde, who brings the X-Men to prevent a fatal moment in history that triggers the anti-mutant hysteria. And that's what basically happens. Her younger self, the older Kitty Pryde, uses the younger Kitty Pryde to prevent this future from happening. The storyline. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to mention real quick, for anybody who hasn't read Days of Future Past, if you've seen the movie, that is one of the major changes they make in the movie, is that she projects Wolverine's mind back in time to his body in the 70s. So he's the one who who undoes it. But in the comics, it's Kitty Pryde who's actively the time traveler herself.
All right. And the story was produced during the franchise's rise in popularity under writer-artist Chris Claremont and John Byrne and Terry Austin. The dark future scene in the story has been revisited numerous times, and it was the basis of the 2014 similarly titled film X-Men: Days of Future Past, wherein Wolverine, like you said, is sent back in time. In 2001, fans voted the first issue of the storyline as the 25th greatest Marvel comic. Wow, that's saying something.
Yeah.
The official handbook of the Marvel Universe, Alternate Universe, 2005, gave a numerical designation of the original Days of Future Past as Earth 811 in the Marvel Universe, and this story came out before we numbered the Earths, so that's why they're adding on in there. Yeah, it is a dark storyline, but it's another thing even in 1981 that shows you just how much freedom that Chris Claremont and company had to tell their stories. That's a very, very graphic cover. That is a very graphic cover that that's just showing you one of the primary characters just basically being disintegrated on the cover of a comic, and using an internment camp, which is it's a concentration camp, was what the mutants were in. But this was groundbreaking stuff. So yeah, but those two covers are the main one. We have 141 and 142, and I have both of these issues, and they are definitely turning point stories. Not only just in the events themselves, but what they do is it's another one of those things that the X-Men did and would do throughout the 80s. That would dictate the tone of what you could do in a superhero comic. Chris Claremont and what he was doing with the X-Men was rewriting the rules of the kind of brutality and the kind of tone that you can do in comics, and it resonates to this day. You know, concentration camps are a very sensitive issue. Chris Claremont had one in his comic, and guess what's in the opening scene of the very first X-Men movie? Concentration camps. Yeah. So he set the tone for what was allowable for comic book storytelling, more than anyone else. There are other people that did it, but these stories that he was telling, along with the Mutant Massacre, Fall of Mutants, and all the other, the look and feel, and just the brutality of it. I mean, just seeing Wolverine, had been at X-Men for 6 years at this point, was, one of the most popular characters in comics, even then, just being fried, even though it was a different universe. Well, if you walked by at your 7-Eleven and you saw this, it was one of those things it's one of those pure examples of where the cover grabs you from wherever you're at, and it pulls you in. It pulls you into the storytelling. And that's what these two covers did. One of them, you're coming up against the realization that most of the X-Men that you've grown to know and love during this run are dead. And then the next cover, they kill them all. But the good guys win. The good guys win. Yeah. I mean, I know it's hard to...
overall, you'd mentioned you think the movie is one of the best of the the best of the Fox X-Men movies, but in terms of what it tweaks and what it adjusts and its version of the story, how effectively of an adaptation do you think it is?
I think it's a very effective one. I wish they could have gone a little bit. I wish the Sentinels looked better. I wish they would have gone a little bit of a darker tone with it, much darker than it did. But for what it was, it's still good enough to be my favorite X-Men movie.
Yeah, because the Sentinels, they do they have they have two different kind of looks for the Sentinel. They have the the standard look that's kind of pretty similar to what's on the cover there for the 70s Sentinels, and then they have kind of the more sort of shape shifting it's almost actually kind of Steppenwolf's armor would look for the Sentinels in the future setting.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed it, and like I said, this was a big deal back then. Like I said, this was right at the beginning of my comic book collecting era. I mean, it was just that it was just that good. So, all right, next topic, real quick. We got about 5 minutes on it. Will be the Turning Point music story, and that was Weezer's Blue album. This is their debut album. This was one of the best albums of the '90s to this day. Is the best Weezer album. Period. I know they've done other stuff. This is the band where I almost wish they did not evolve because
Yeah.
they've evolved into something that I think is not as strong as what they were. I always mention that power chord bands, the difference between a lot of people just give power chord bands a lot of shit because all I can do is stroke the power chords, and it's like good. I mean, if you're the best at it, keep doing it. And if you listen to the original Weezer album, this album, and if you were alive in the mid '90s, I know a lot of you guys are like Brad, and you're like, '90s, you weren't even, still might have been kicking around in the womb, maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
But you once one you'll always a lot of times you'll hear me revert back to 1993 to 1998. I think that is the greatest 5 years for music for me, and this band was smack dab in the middle of it. This album this is alternative. This is the difference. We had a question last week, and people like, "What's the difference between grunge and punk and certain other aspects of music?" And this, to me, is the epitome of alternative music because it included a lot of the stuff that went before, and then it went out on its own. Um, there are songs on this that are like some of them they never even played on the radio, and that I heard by accident, like listening to like college radio and shit. But this was I think the one of two albums they did with Matt Sharp. It opens up with one of my favorite songs of all time. My Name Is Jonas, and it's power. It's a ballad, but it opens up with these really strong uh riffs, and it's like I liken it to somebody punching through a wall to come sing you a song. That's what it is.
Uh,
And it is great. And then no one else. I want a girl who's and she's this that song is great, and every song on there you just go from the entire album. My favorite Weezer song, probably of all time, is "The World Has Turned and Left Me Here." Um, just another song with power and ballad to it. A song that just probably about everybody in the chat is gonna know, and Rhea Rhea brought it up earlier, and Buddy Holly. Buddy Holly was the breakthrough one. They had the sweater song, if you want to undo my sweater. I mean, that song was good. That was their first hit. Um, Buddy Holly blew them up. Buddy Holly was the song, and it was accompanied by probably one of the greatest videos of all time. The video is it takes place in Happy Days and Arnold's Big A's, and it is a dance contest. And Weezer is the band, and they've made the film grain look like they were actually been filmed in that era. So Weezer's singing this song, and while the cast from Happy Days is around them, and Fonzie's dancing in this dance contest to Weezer. And it is for 1995. It is one of the most innovative and coolest things. And the song was kick ass. And it was power. Everything that they did it with power, and they did it with grace. And they don't do that in all their albums, but they definitely did it here. Undone was the sweater song, which they played the hell out of that one. It's a good song, but Surf Wax America is a song that just gets your blood going. Yeah, you take your car to work, and it's I wish I could play it for you to understand. Say It Ain't So was their third big hit off of this album, and like I said, the guitar work and the bass work on this is like you had to tune your radios down, or else Weezer would blow them up, and I'm not kidding. In the garage is it's basically a song about me. It's basically a song about an outcast nerd with a whole bunch of comic book posters, and he's literally if you read. In fact, you know what? I'm not gonna play this song, but I'm gonna post it in the chat room, and chat room. What am I, an AOL live now? I can't believe I even said that. In my garage. All right. Like I said, it's literally. Hold on, I'm gonna have to stop it as soon as it. Okay, stop. Okay, cool. So this is directly from Weezer, so we can play this one. But I'm going to copy the URL, and I'm putting it in the chat room. Like I said, it's talking about me. I don't know how Weezer got into my room or came to my house, but they're talking about me, and they're talking about every other comic book nerd that you're ever going to meet. And once again, it's power. It's power in melody, and I love this song. This whole album. There's only one song on this album I don't like, and it has nothing to do with it being a crappy song, and it's because they overplayed it, and that's the Undone the Sweater song. Only in Dreams. That was this overture and holiday, but like I said, there's 10 tracks on this song, and I got 8 of them on my playlist consistently. But the songwriting and the things that they did in these songs was like, that was groundbreaking. It was, and like I said, they would go away from a lot of these things, and it kind of bothered me. Island in the Sun on the Green Album was pretty good. Love the music video. That wasn't a bad song, but here's the thing, and that's one of the songs that that really they started to take a different path. And like I said, that's fine, but it's just, for me, they were a power group. They were a power core group, and they knew what they were doing. And I think they felt they needed to evolve beyond that, because when you listen to like their newer stuff that they've the last 2 albums that they put out, they've gone back to that power. By the way, their last couple of albums are very depressing tone wise, but
Yeah.
power is there. I don't know, for you Weezer fans out there, if you've listened, dude, there's a song about a dog dying with the way I understand.
Yeah, they've taken a dark turn.
And I'm like, it's a beautiful song, but I'm like, dude, if I can't watch Pet Sematary because I got issues, I damn sure can't listen to this song. Buddy Holly video was way ahead of it. Yeah, it was way ahead of its time. It got a ton of airplay, and whenever you heard them, that song is great. That song is great. I mean, it's like, this was a great band, and it's one of the bands I need to go see in real life, because I haven't got a chance to see them in real life. They did a good job. So yeah, when you watch Buddy Holly, it's, how sometimes when they superimpose stuff, it looks fake as hell. No, the tone of the film, everything, they look like, if you didn't know that band didn't exist, then obviously you wouldn't know. If you didn't know any better, you would think that they were in the actual video. And like I said, the way they have Fonzie, they have a double for Fonzie, so that when he's coming up and down and doing his crazy dance from the episode, they actually took an episode that exists and did that. And so they superimposed other people where they needed them. But that was a groundbreaking video, man. That was 1995, man. That was just where music was in 1995. I mean, if you pull up a list of stuff that got released in 1995, it's truly one of the best years in my entire time on this planet, music-wise. And this album was one of them. This album was it for me. I mean, one of them, right up there with Smashing Pumpkins and a lot of the other stuff. But yeah, as someone who is in the military, what do you think of Five Finger Death Punch? They're okay. They're not my preference as far as.
I'm gonna look them up real quick.
Yeah, they're not my preference as far as style of music, but I guess
I don't think I've listened to them in a minute.
Yeah, when it comes to Five Finger Death Punch, I guess you have to be in on that one. I mean, as far as that has to be your preference of sound, I guess that's what I'm looking for. What's with these homies dissing my girl? What do they got? That was the weirdest line for them to be using, but it just worked. What do they? Who made them so violent? Watch us get a copyright strike because of my horrible singing. I have the song memorized. I have the entire. There's like I said, there's a few albums that I have memorized to where it's like I could do karaoke without. I wouldn't even need the words. I wouldn't even need the screen. That's how much I know this album. But yeah, I love that album. Yeah, I cannot laugh. Yep. Bang, bang, knock on the door, another big bang, get down on the floor. And oh no, what do I do? I remember having to memorize that because it was driving me crazy that I couldn't, wherever I was at, I couldn't hear it clearly. And then finally when I got the tape, I'm like, then I'm like, what's the matter? What's the matter? What's the matter? I love that song. I love this band. This album it's just a fun album to listen to, and it puts you in a good headspace, Like Metallica, you want to fight and beat somebody's ass after you listen to, Injustice for All. But this album, you just want to move around, You just want to move around, and and have a lot of fun with it. So, all right, that was my. I can't say enough about Weezer's Blue album. El Scorcho, the one that came after that, and I don't like any Weezer album as much as I love this one. And to me, they're still a great band. Like I said, their new stuff is great, but it's like, wow. If you're feeling like you're too happy and you need to be brought down a little bit, maybe go ahead and listen to that one. But yeah, if you look at their discography, and like I said, they were going through different things in their life, and their music reflected it. The Blue album, 1994 is when the Blue album was released, but most of its hits came out in the in 1995. Then Pinkerton came out. Pinkerton wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. Hiatus said it took 2 years off. The Green album, that's the one Ray brought up. Maladroit, I did not like Maladroit. Let's see the Red album, and then like I said, Pacific Daydream. The Teal album and the Black album were decent. Let's see. Yeah, Saint SZNC. That one's the one with the depressing stuff on, and I'm like, now they're getting into their 50s and they're starting to reflect and they're starting to bring it back to the power chords that started the Inks, because when they were younger, it's just a different look at their life. When you listen to their music, you could literally tell where Rivers Cuomo and the rest of the band was at. And I also think that the reason why I love this album as much is it's one of the only 2 albums that that Matt Sharp, the original bassist, is on, because he was a big part of that sound. And he went on to form a band called The Rentals, for those of you who want to dive in deep into that one. So, yeah, man. Let's see. Oh, yeah. I got my hash pipe. That's one of the songs from Pinkerton I did like. I think that's Pinkerton. Because it was power, but like I said, there was just not enough on that album. That was and it's not a fair comparison, because I'm comparing to which probably I've already admitted is probably one of the great albums ever released. So, all right, guys. So now we are going to. Does anybody else want to get in here? All right, cool. So let me go ahead and bring. What's going on, Anthony?
What's up, Anthony? Is your mic on?
Wake up, Anthony. All right. Well, for right now, until type in that you're back.
Okay.
And then I'll put you back in. Otherwise, we're just listening into. We're listening. Okay, here's
Especially as I got Weezer in the background. Spider-Man's back.
And it's that album was just great. He's hitting the hash pipe. I don't want to accuse him.
What's the good word, fellas?
Wrapping up a busy day, both online and in person. So yeah.
My man Fourth disappeared out of the blue. He was holding the chat down, and he just like left us.
Well, I was going all over the chat. I wasn't doing them in order this time around. A lot of times on Saturday I don't get a chance to. Because we're like on a particular topic, and I guess you got a little bit mad.
William, you got to understand. I know this is your show, but the show takes on a life of its own.
Fourth
is the host from the chat. Even if we don't agree with him, he's still our representative. He's still our sarcastic, target.
Your rep needs to not leave before I can get a chance.
Like Rhea is like our advocate, and Fourth is like our champion. You see what I'm saying? So we got to let him off the chain sometimes to get what gets done. You know what I mean? Between those two people, they make the show. I mean, you're just a byproduct. You just sit there and collect the money. They actually do all the work from the from the chat, man.
So I suppose I'm totally useless then.
Yeah, no, you're like us. You're like us. You're like us. You're like Williams' representative on the other side of the game. So you're actually. That's why you respond to Fourth so much, because advocate to champion, champion advocate. So on and so forth,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Nah, but I guess I didn't highlight all of his comments, so you got a little bit hung in the collar. But sorry. I mean, on Saturdays, you notice I never do that on Saturdays. I try to do it as much as possible. Like when I'm on a solo stream during the week when it's a lot slower paces and we're not doing. You notice I read every chat going up and down. But it's when we're having, like, before I even got into the chat, we had like a bunch of people and a bunch of people saying things, and a lot of them lined up to what we were saying at that time. So
I feel like our audience has really grown in the last couple of months.
Yeah, it's gotten a lot more consistent. Even like I said, we're definitely getting a lot of post watches too. Like I said, when I'm able to pull up the analytics, and I see a lot of people catch us.
That's because we get the notification at noon the next day and 9 o'clock the next morning, like on the daily.
Which is
at least we're getting notifications now, though.
Yeah,
right?
At least you get it. Listen, there's you can be here live, but there's you can also watch it later on. I know a lot of people. I know people that I see in the day, like Mandy, one of the girls that popped up in the chat. She has to go to bed by a certain time, but she'll start off listening to the show, and then she'll listen to the rest of it on her way to work. I know a buddy who's drives for Amazon. He has me on during the day. That just a download. So I mean, and I see where we're getting our viewers from and when we're getting them, and it's astonishing because I'm like, wow, because I can't imagine myself even being up at that hour talking, but they're up at that hour listening to something I said a couple of days ago. Like, we still got people that are still listening to the to last Saturday's show. They just catch it when they catch it, and sometimes the algorithm just delivers a particular episode to them. And I'll get somebody commenting about a show I did last year. I legit got a comment from somebody who happened upon one of our streams, especially on Point Action Lounge, where we did our first simulcast, and they were commenting about it. I was like, "What is this guy talking about?" And then I'm like, I click on the link, and it's a show from like, wow. I'm like, okay, thank you. But yeah, we're getting all over the place, and we're starting to get some consistency. I guess as far as like knowing.
When's the last day you didn't stream? Do you think? You've been on every day like for a while now.
For a while, I did 27 straight days, and then I just took that one day off because I went to go see Creator. I went to go see Creator.
Anthony, back.
Sunday. Yeah.
Anthony, what's
can you
going
hear me,
on?
Anthony?
Hey, yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here.
All right.
I almost fell asleep waiting in the background.
Sorry. That's why I tried to speak loudly. Like I said, guys, Saturday is kind of chaotic. I try to control the chaos, and
we wanted to show at 11 o'clock. Look at us. We can't even stay awake for the whole show.
William, my question was, I'm a big fan of Namor. Was there a chain? What was the term you used again
Trident?
earlier? Huh?
You talking about the Trident?
No, not the Trident. The storyline. You use it.
Turning point
storyline for Namor.
Turning point storyline from Namor would be his first
in the modern era, not from early on.
Well, that would be the turning point because the very first time you see him, he's not friendly. But the biggest turning point for him would be Atlantis attacks.
Was that the first storyline, the original storyline?
No, his first storyline back in Marvel, I believe.
World War II stuff, right?
Yeah, but his modern era stuff was where they totally changed the character because he was not a friend of mankind.
Did they ever put Namor in like during the Gulf War?
They put everybody in the Gulf War.
No, him specifically. Did they ever do storylines with him specifically where he's fighting in the Gulf, like where he's evolving through each war for the United States, where it's going through World War II, Korea, Vietnam, first Gulf War, then Afghanistan and Iraq, the second Gulf War?
Not that I recall, because he came back to Marvel in Fantastic Four #4, which was in 1962. Remember, even though the Vietnam War was about to start, we didn't start having reflections of it in comics and since then. Now, I'm pretty sure that there's stories that have probably looked back on his entire life. I haven't read those, But I'm pretty sure the fact that he has been around forever and he is legit a part of World War II, that there's probably some storyline that reflects his time on Earth, mankind's war. That's one of his hatreds. One of the things he hates about humankind when he first comes back is how they've treated the environment and that they're constantly at war. And he looks at what he had. He kept peace.
Which seems hypocritical from him because he attacks a human. That sounds kind of hypocritical coming from Namor, though, in a sense, where he's mad that we're attacking each other and how we're treating the environment. But the original way we get introduced to him is him attacking the human world.
Race. But he figured, remember why he's doing it though. He feels he doesn't have a choice. If he doesn't stop them and curtail their industrialism, it's going to kill his kingdom. So that's why he is not his first choice. Even in the movie, even in Black Panther, it's not his first choice. But he understands that at the rate mankind is going, that they will make his people don't have anywhere to go but the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why he eventually becomes a hero, because guys like Captain America, Reed Richards, and people that will become lifelong friends of his say, hey, there's a different way to go about this. Let's use your clout. Let's use our clout. Let's change this whole thing instead of going to war.
Is that how the Illuminati basically almost got? Is that why the Illuminati got formed, basically to prevent the human race from destroying the planet?
No, the Illuminati was formed because there were threats on all levels of existence that threatened mankind, like metaphysical, galactic, things like scrolls, things like
you created a new word, William.
Yeah, I do that often. But yeah, the Illuminati and magic. I mean, there were things, and if you notice, the members of the Illuminati are from all. Yeah, they're all different forms of different forms of threats.
Or Captain America until he got booted. Tony Stark. Am I missing somebody else? Doctor Strange.
Now you have Doctor Strange in there.
Was Blade ever in the Illuminati?
I don't think so.
Midnight Suns.
Yeah.
And the what do they call his name on Blade?
The reason why I asked that is because there's certain characters in both teams that cross over. That's why. That's why I asked that question.
I don't recall them ever being there. So I got a question from Rhea. Rhea, what are the changes to Namor and Namora compared to the Universal has the rights to? I don't think that they ever did one. It's just the fact that they owned the character. They just never did anything with the character, and I think they're about to give up those rights.
Yeah,
I never saw them do it.
Are they giving up Hulk as well, or are they still keeping Hulk?
I think so, because they don't have any plans to make any movies for them. So.
Yeah, and this is what I've been saying in previous streams too, William. I'm already predicting this. Once what is it called? Once Disney gets the full rights to all their characters from Universal for Marvel, they can actually they can give whatever characters or whatever things that they don't use to Universal, and they can actually start using more characters in their theme parks.
I think they can do that anyway, though. They can do that now. Their cinematic deal and their licensing deals are two different things. What happened with the licensing deals are something that they can license from them even before all this. The reason why they own and have these other characters is it's like we were talking about earlier today. Marvel was almost bankrupted into non-existent. They almost really legit.
And that was how they got themselves out of it. Was they sold off film rights to Spider-Man, to Daredevil, to X-Men.
Yeah, and then Universal made Hulk movies. They figured it was a valuable IP. But and as long as Marvel didn't make single Hulk movies, they weren't violating the copyright. But I don't think Universal has any desire to make any of these movies. I think they're just going to let it lapse. They don't have any, and there's nothing that they could do solo that would top what's being done, would now. I just don't. I just get the sense that Universal doesn't have the interest in it right now.
We're Hulk throwing a punch and Hulk talking about himself in the third person also something that was restricted on that deal because he did neither of those things as the movies went on.
wait, I have a question. Does Hulk always been? I've seen comics with Hulk specifically where they portray him as a very egotistical person where he always talks about himself in the third person. Has that always been the case?
No, he's gone through different phases. The Hulk is a reflection of the psychosis.
I'm talking about like the Savage Hulk, the one that's
like me,
the ones that's bewildered all the time.
Maestro, the one I'm thinking of is Maestro.
The manipulative version.
Yeah, that's what I think. Actually, the Incredible Hulk is probably the MCU's most underrated movie.
It's a great movie, Brad. It is a great movie, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
man!
I mean, the design of the Hulk itself. I mean, he looks like he was carved out of a mountain.
So much better than the inconsistent design of the Ang Lee movie. Although the Ang Lee movie does have it's the only movie you get Thunderbolt chasing him the whole movie, and also as bad as that movie is, those transitions between the scenes are comic book amazing.
Those comic book paging.
Yes.
I do like actually the Ang Lee Hulk, but it's the kind of it's one of those ones for me where it's like I like it, but I get it. Where like people are coming from, and that's like that is very much an acquired taste.
For me, the most underrated Marvel movie before it actually became a cinematic universe is the second Iron Man movie.
Well, that's
it was the universe at that point. They had already done the Nick Fury tease at the end of the first movie, and they had
No,
but people hate that movie for some reason. I don't know why that's
bad. It's a terrible movie, but we can talk about that.
That's another one where I do kind of have a soft spot for Iron Man 2, but I get it where people come from on that because a lot of it, the hate I think is based on the fact that it really is like largely it's like 2 hours of Tony Stark just riffing.
Yeah, it's Robert Downey Jr. hanging out with his friends and getting paid a lot of money to do so. That's what that movie is.
William, in the chat, I asked you a question. I'm not sure if you and Brad answered already. Why is the Krakoa storyline for the X-Men so divisive when it comes to the comic book fans?
Resurrection, that's why. We can just kill Professor X 10 times and bring him back tomorrow, and everybody's dead and comes back, and I mean that's what it is for me.
There were the stakes a lot. I liked it, but I understand why a lot of people didn't. Whenever you have X-Men, that's a book built like on heavy stakes, on people's living, dying, lives being completely altered by all kinds of things, and you take away those stakes, you really take away a lot of what people find familiar in the X-Men stories.
But Swords of X and Powers of 10 was amazing, though. I do like that. I like that a lot.
See, and when you brought up Days of Future Past, you never brought up Bishop. Why didn't you bring up Bishop? Was Bishop after the storyline?
He does have a very truncated role in the movie version of the story, which that is an unfortunate kind of switch over from how they handle it.
No, in the when you guys were talking about
because Bishop is not part of Days of Future Past at the time that I was displaying the story. He comes from an alternate future that wasn't brought in until Willis Portacio took over the artwork of the comic in 1991, 9 years later. So
by the way, Ray Fisher in the shots of scene in Rebel Moon, come on, that is so so modeled off of Bishop.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I know. I saw that too. I'm like, Jesus Christ. You could have modeled your character after someone else, really?
Wow.
Actually, Rhea has. We were talking about the whole. She has one I wanted to highlight here. She asked, "Do you guys think that they'll bring back Ed Norton in the multiverse?" I think it's fun. That's interesting because they did have Ed Norton in Marvel. They had that. They had a bit of a falling out there, but I could see it.
Never say never. I could see it. I could easily see it. Maybe.
Especially with Secret Wars and all the multiverse stuff going
on.
Yeah, as a cameo.
And for me, I recently watched a video of a gamma ray scientist, scientist who deals with gamma rays, and he was breaking down the Hulk and how he was able to survive the gamma ray, what is it called? The
gamma
burst. Things that should have killed him instantly, the gamma rays, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, there is no way a normal human would have survived that. Like, he would have died instantly in real life.
That's because Bruce Banner, like many of the supers in Marvel, is a human mutate.
Yeah, it's
And those are
bullshit.
pre-existing conditions that were set in his genetic code. Not
Bullshit. You
not
can't
the
even
Terrigen
say it
Mist,
without laughing.
not
You
the
can't
Terrigen Mist, not the Inhumans, Larry. But
hear the
he was pre-set. This is the Eternal storyline. They pre-picked his genes and everything to the day. So when that gamma burst hit, he became the Incredible Hulk. Same thing for Captain America. Same thing for anybody who's not a mutant. Spider-Man with the stupid spider totem nonsense and all that stuff. So hey.
Wait a minute. Why did you call the Spider-Man thing stupid?
The spider totem? Spider totem is ridiculous, man. We went from Peter Parker getting bit by a radioactive spider till like Ezekiel, and I mean, you name it. I mean, even in our universe, you got a billion Spider-Mans.
Spider Pig.
Yeah. The Spider-Verse movies are awesome, but the spider totem is nonsense, man.
All right. So you know what happens when you get exposed to the kind of radiation that makes our superheroes? You die.
Exactly.
When you go into a ship that is not shielded for radiation, you have a solar flare. Not only do you die, you're disintegrated. You die up there. You don't come back here and change into rocks and invisibility.
Well, yeah. Ask all the astronauts who were sent up in space unshielded how the Fantastic Four cosmic radiation thing worked for them.
If you get bit by if you get a radioactive anything inserted into your bloodstream, you know what happens? You die.
All right. True for most people except for me, William. Come on now, look at the avatar.
and the Ang Lee Hulk, actually, they found they were thinking ahead on that because they had that whole thing about his father, played around with his DNA and then he passed it on to Bruce. That's how Bruce was able to survive the gamma blast. So,
yeah, okay.
They pseudoscience in there, but it's you got to do what you got to do.
I caught you just doing your encyclopedia thing right there a second ago with Bishop, William. So when did they start the human mutate nonsense? It's not really nonsense, but when did they start the human mutate explanation for why everybody is predetermined to be a superhero?
I can't remember. I know they mentioned it back when the whole Neymar is a mutant bullshit came.
And when Wanda stopped being a mutant and she's not Magneto's kid. She's still a mutant, but she's not Magneto's kid. Isn't that how it goes? Or is she not a mutant anymore?
Oh, did they recently was that a more recent thing with Wanda and Pietro or in the comics were they always Magneto's kids? Was that a more recent
when
thing?
They first appeared in Avengers #4, you didn't know who they were, and they didn't start making the connection until they started showing Magneto without his helmet, and obviously you saw Pietro looking just like him, but they're his kids. I mean, and they're
that's what I think.
Who's their mother?
Her mother was a gypsy that died after he found out about his powers. And look at this is a classic X-Men story that was in the back of classic X-Men. Once he realized what his powers were, he killed a bunch of people. He killed a bunch of Germans, and his wife was saw what he did, and she left him. She was pregnant,
and that's what X-Men First Class. That I just love that scene when he's in Argentina and he finds those two Nazis in the bar. And he does the trick with the knife. Let's just say I'm Frankenstein's monster, and I'm looking for my creator.
My favorite line in that whole movie is when
Wolverine
tells Professor X, "Man, you're an asshole."
Are you talking about First Class?
Yeah,
fuck off.
He's still gonna be Magneto's kid in MCU, and so is he. That's
I tend to agree with you, William. I like them being Magneto's kids for the story.
So William, what in the chat I said something that I clarified what I meant in a previous stream when we were talking about Bass Reeves. What I meant to say was that he was the only, because if they were to send the U.S. Marshals had to send him in because every time they would send in white marshals, they would get killed because the Indians hated them. So Bass Reeves got away with it. He didn't get killed because he was what's it called? The Native Americans treat him like their own and stuff like that. He didn't get killed by the Native Americans in the Indian territory, which is modern day Oklahoma, because they treat him like their own.
Plus, he wasn't as dumb as his predecessors. His predecessors would go into the reservations and go into Indian territory, acting like they were still fighting a Mexican, not Mexican, Indian war, and you just couldn't do that. And he used different tactics. Not only was he a person of color and perceived to be as oppressed as they were, he used different tactics. He did his research before he went in there. He knew who to talk to. He knew who the leadership was. He didn't just roll in there shooting up in the air like they did and just start screwing with people. He actually was one of these smarter lawmen because he knew he had to be. Obviously, that particular time, riding around. I mean, you're still, there's still a lot of wherewithal you have to have, and he dealt with criminals differently than the average marshal did, and he would treat the Native Americans. He would treat them with respect, even if he was going in there to get a criminal. They weren't all criminals. And then what the other marshals would do is they would basically assume that these people are beneath us, and they're all criminals, and give me the one that we're looking for. He was different.
That's what people forget about guys like Wild Bill Hickok and what's it called, and Wyatt Earp. They didn't originally get along with the Native Americans. They treat them like they were beneath them. They treat them like trash most of the time.
Well, Wild Bill, yeah. I mean, and a lot of them they ended up, and when they were at odds, they still ended up getting respect for each other. So it's like, whereas you did. Bass Reeves was different because he had to be different. He was in a situation where he couldn't use the tactics like that, and that's how he kept himself alive. He kept himself alive in a place that wasn't necessarily the safest place to be black, especially black lawmen.
Multiverse siblings.
I hated it too, but I feel like the low-key saying they're multiverse siblings were getting the rights to hang in with us. Yeah.
Larry. And William, I said in the chat, I'm not sure if you saw it. The reason why you could tell which houses these families were in House of Dragons, they did a lot of cousin fucking. So let's be honest, most of those families were inbred. So
that's still branding, though. That's still branding.
That's the real world too.
Yeah, but I still know. Why do I know what a Targaryen is? The hair, the eyes, and the dragon.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I mean because I was using that to use the point.
I didn't mean to curse. I'm sorry. I apologize for cursing.
You're far behind me. When you're talking about why do people recognize certain things what they are without a whole bunch of explanation, I know what a Targaryen is because you've laid the groundwork of what they are, who they are, and what they do. I know about the dragons because you told me about the dragons. And I know that there's a difference between a Targaryen and a Lannister because you laid that out for me, and that's all you have to do with Elsewolrds. You need to let people know what the parameters of your stories is. The first second is this is something different. And then
did Marvel have an equivalent to Elsewolrds and Black Label where they had more raunchier comics?
I think probably the closest thing I could think of would be Marvel Knights.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Marvel Knights and Max. But
as far as they would actually get, where they would actually show in the panels the superheroes actually having sex in the panels like that.
Well, Frank Miller would do it whenever he wanted, and he would have, Daredevil would be banging.
Frank seemed like he didn't give a shit.
Because he didn't give a shit.
He had that cloud, You wanted him. Once you hired Frank Miller, you knew what you were.
Mid-'80s Frank Miller was nothing to mess with, man.
Yeah.
Was Jack Kirby like that too? He can write comics like that?
No,
or he didn't have that clout?
Jack Kirby did not have that clout, and he didn't get a lot of respect.
Which is very unfortunate because he definitely had that talent.
And he made everybody.
He made 50% of all things that are out there. Exactly. Him and Stan Lee. Exactly. Stan Lee was the vocal face. He was the guy who put everything together. He was the walking, talking face of Marvel Comics. And Jack Kirby just wasn't that kind of guy. So in a lot of circles, Jack Kirby wasn't synonymous with what Stan Lee was. Stan Lee also lived a lot longer too.
Just Stan like Lee. Always, DC didn't let Jack Kirby finish the Fourth World Story.
Yeah.
Just like always.
Stan Lee had a. He had a little bit more of an innate showmanship to him than Jack Kirby. I mean, that's why he was so well suited to do all the cameos and do the Comic-Con appearances because he had almost like a P.T. Barnum.
He's not surly. He's not as surly.
Yeah. Oh no, yeah. That's why it's not like trying to get. You don't have to kind of tiptoe around like maybe like Mike like with Alan Moore.
Wait, well, did half of the Marvel writers that that left Marvel, were they the ones that started DC? Like the majority of these writers that went from Marvel to DC,
No.
did they
No, DC's
start
like
DC?
20 years older than Marvel is, man.
DC was of drinking age before there was even a Marvel.
Yeah.
I've always assumed it was the other way around because it seems some of the superheroes were created before Marvel, DC superheroes and stuff like that.
Well, because you
DC
had like a version of Human Torch and Namor, back in the 30s, but then that was kind of like the equivalent to like the Jay Garrick and Alan
Okay.
Scott.
Well, here's what happened. So you had what was called Timely Comics.
Yeah, that was the
It was called
initial.
Timely Comics, and that's where you got Namor, you got the original Human Torch, and you have that. There was no Marvel Comics, and that was the only characters that they had. And then once that imprint went away and Stan Lee started Marvel, they restarted everything else. That's when you had all the other characters in 1961 that you have. Now, even those characters that I just mentioned are still predated by all DC characters, because those characters, Human Torch and Namor, weren't around until 1939, and Captain America from that same imprint came along in 1941. He was actually created to be a symbol of the war, and that's why on the very first issue he's punching Hitler. DC had Superman in 1938, and then 1939, and then by the time DC consistently was creating characters.
So Namor came before Aquaman,
in the
right?
time that you see. Yes.
So that's what's confusing. People always say, like, I have friends who read a ton of comics, and they've always told me that it was the other way around, that Aquaman came before Namor.
No, Namor predates Aquaman, but but NDP predates Timely.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's basically, it's like I said, the very first
It's
superhero.
so confusing for me. Like, that's so confusing to understand.
Well, just think Superman. Superman is 1938. That's the first DC character. That's the first DC comic. And then after that, 1939, you have Batman, you have Robin not too long after that. And then you have different earlier versions of these characters like Green Lantern, The Flash, that existed in that time. But once those comics stopped being...
What year did Wonder Woman debut? Was that
She was like 41,
1940.
I think.
1940.
Oh, so she was a year before.
She appeared in All-Star Comics #8. I just don't know what.
Well, no. Did she come before or after? Was she a year before Captain America debuted, or 2 years?
Captain America. Captain America is 1941. She appeared in 1941. You guys are right on that one. October 1941. So she most likely appeared
the same year.
She definitely did. Appeared the same year. It's just she was released in October, cover date October. So actually she's older than him by 2 months. Actually, no. Captain America came out in 1940. Captain America #1 came out in 1940. I forget the war had started in Europe already. It hadn't reached us. So Captain America actually predates her by a full year.
So did Captain Britain come around the same time, in the 40s?
Captain Britain didn't come around till the mid-70s.
Okay, I wasn't sure if there's certain Captain characters that I wasn't sure if they came around.
Well, I mean, there's a whole stream's worth of talk about the Captain Marvel, and Marvel, how that all
Blue Marvel,
yeah, the Kree and all that, But yeah, Captain America is 1940. But yeah, it's just. I've memorized what most of these areas that these characters have come out with.
And William, when they released Wakanda Forever, did they ever release a connecting comic for Namor before he got introduced?
Yeah.
Just one based off the character that we saw in the movie?
Well, they made a composite character of what
Tenoch Huerta ended up being.
Yeah, and he starts to look. If you look at him in the comics, like, hold on for a second.
I'm asking so many questions. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, but you're asking the right questions, man. We're learning because you're asking.
No, because you guys read more comics than I do. To be honest,
you got to go visit William. You're looking at it. You're talking to a guy in a comic book store with a wall full of comics.
I'm in Florida. I'm in Florida, dude. I'm in Florida. I'm in Florida.
You got to get on the. I guess you got to get on the $20 stream so he can send you some stuff. He'll send you some free comics for free comic day.
So this is released around when Wakanda Wherever it was written. If you look at the lettering of it, but you also this is the actual comic book story. But if you look at it, you'll see he's wearing a similar. His tights are the same as that. It's in there. That throne you actually see in the movie. That's the throne he floats down into, and he's wearing that headgear. Even though he's not wearing the feathers and the fins, it's a similar type of headgear.
Does he have the trident? Is he holding the same trident? I can't tell.
Yep.
That trident was sick in that movie. That's why I kept on asking you about it, William.
He's got different ones. He's got different ones too. Remember. So yeah, he's
The one that I'm looking at was the one that looked like the Aztec spear. Do you know the one I'm talking about?
Yeah.
The one in the middle of the movie?
You know, I'll be perfectly honest. It's like, I wasn't like all that blown away by Namor and Wakanda Forever. But that may just boil down. I've just never been that big of a Namor guy myself.
Well, his character was not designed in that story to be the holding up of the story. He was supposed to have a Black Panther.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a foil.
And it really hurt. Like I said before, it hurt the movie, and it hurt his character and his portrayal because he was designed and written to bounce off of T'Challa. And he wasn't there, and I thought that really.
And you said it best in the spoiler review when we were talking about the movie, William. That his character, Tenoch's character, people were criticizing him, saying he looked weak against Shuri when he fought her, but in essence, he actually turned out to he outsmarted her. He just was impetulant at the beginning of the movie and stuff like that.
Well, he probed her. He probed her out because he was looking, and the question that he was asking, and he was asking it throughout the movie, was, "Are Wakanda an ally? These humans are coming for us. The rest of these humans are coming for us, just like they're going to eventually come for them. And do I have an ally?" And when he was fighting her, he came to the conclusion, and he said that in the movie, that they're going to come for them just like they're going to come from us, and then they're not going to have anyone else to turn to but us. So we have an ally by de facto. And I thought that was brilliant. I liked him in this movie as much as I could, but like I said, it really hurt the fact that you could clearly tell that character was designed to be the counterpoint to T'Challa. Yeah, please like, subscribe, share, alert, do all.
Did they rewrite the whole movie? Because I heard rumors that they were gonna, besides Namor, they were gonna introduce Dr. Doom in this movie too.
I heard rumors about that, but I don't know if that was ever going to come to fruition. I know they rewrote Shuri's part of the movie because she had to fill a void. That was supposed to be by T'Challa. Instead, he was supposed to be fighting T'Challa. He wasn't supposed to be fighting her. But they rewrote the movie, and like I said, I think it was a mistake. I've gone on board.
The rumor that I read was that that Dr. Doom was controlling it from, like, he was the one that forced Namor to flood Wakanda. It wasn't Namor his own. It was Dr. Doom basically manipulating the situation and stuff like that from the background.
That could be something that happens down the line, but it's not something I saw borne out, right now. But it could happen. Go ahead, Spider.
So just to talk about what Anthony's talking about, so that'd be like the three sovereigns going at it with each other, or Marvel, right? Dr. Doom's the sovereign of Latveria. Black Panther would be the sovereign of Wakanda, and Namor the sovereign of Atlantis. So
Talokan.
that's all it's been now. Sorry.
Nope, yeah, whatever. Atlantis. But yeah, I enjoyed it. But like I said, that movie I just felt a hole in that movie because of the fact that obviously they made the decision to go forward, and I really thought that hurt Submariner's character.
In Multiverse of Madness, no, not Multiverse. William, in Secret Wars, do you think they're gonna show the portrayal of Idris Elba's Black Panther? Because
I have no idea. I have no idea.
And are we gonna see Tom Cruise Iron Man in the movie?
I could see that just as a gag, just like they gave you.
I remember hearing rumors about him for Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
I mean, that was in listen, the more I think about Multiverse of Madness, the more I don't like that movie.
How do you not like that movie? It's fun, man. It's a fun movie.
It's a mess, man. And
Man,
it's
It
Mr.
was supposed to
Fantastic
be
got turned
Dark
into
Rain,
spaghetti.
wasn't that? Wasn't that movie based off Dark Rain?
not
No.
really.
No.
And first of all, the movie was bullshit. And I don't think Sam Raimi was given as much power as he should have been given, because I felt like it was a Sam Raimi movie, but it wasn't.
The idiot Bob Chapek took powers away from the creatives. Blame him.
You didn't enjoy the fact that we finally got Wanda powered up instead of being robbed for the 4 or 5 appearances we had prior. She was weak and not the true Wanda, and then we finally got her full power.
There was just too much of the movie that was just a mess. It was the poor editing. I just didn't like it. But plus, I was coming off of the heels of No Way Home, and it just wasn't that quality. And you can't kill Black Bolt that way. That's just fucking stupid. I said that to their movie, and I'm like, "Are you guys?"
That is the way you could kill Black Bolt in an effective way. He killed himself with his power,
which could not. You have to. You can't understand the character. You're telling me basically that you don't understand the way Black Bolt's powers work. If you think
but she's a reality warper, yo.
Doesn't matter.
She has the hex and reality warping abilities, man. If anybody can do it, it's got to be Wanda, man.
No, but what she did was effectively say that because he couldn't project his sound, that it would destroy his body. His body is literally designed to filter his own power. It would have never happened.
Well, the MCU nerfs them all and gets all their powers wrong anyway. So I mean.
See, and what confuses me, why did they use Dormammu in this movie instead of Mephisto? Because in the original Dark Reign story,
it was Cthon, man. The Darkhold is Cthon. There was no Mephisto in that movie, and
Cthon is the right one. Cthon is the right one for
that's
the
story that we were watching.
Yeah.
And where we went before in the first Doctor Strange, that's the Dark Dimension. That is where Dormammu reigns supreme. If he gets out of the Dark Dimension, it's over. Like, so, yeah.
Yeah, we're a Dharma. Yeah, they actually used the right one. They just didn't do it well. Charlize Theron's going to be a future movies of Doctor Strange. Yeah, I think so too.
If anything, they messed up Schumer Roth. They messed up Schumer Roth because they made him super weak.
Well, no, because they couldn't use him. There wasn't a problem where they couldn't use him and they had to.
All I know was the version of Schumer Roth I saw in the beginning was so weak. That's not the Schumer Roth that we would be worried about, right?
When do you guys project we see the solo movie or series for Namor?
I'd like to.
Well, I mean, it's got you got to. We were just talking about the strike delay and everything. I mean, that's probably you could probably whatever prediction we would give. You probably
if he doesn't go to jail for beating him.
Yeah, there's also that.
Yeah,
there's some issues going on when people don't have their jobs to do. They have so much free time, and so hey, you know what? Go ahead.
Yeah, no, and to be honest, like for me, some of the like the Jonathan Majors thing and this Tenoch Huerta thing, I hope I'm not saying I don't believe the women, but for some reason I feel that it's all a money grab because these two guys are famous.
Well, the thing is that we have I'm going to leave the courts to that. Because if there's no evidence, then it'll bear it out. That's why I never jump into it, because I don't have all the information, and a court is going to. And then when they do discover and everything else, and if he's not guilty, carry on. If he's guilty, put him behind bars. That's what I always say. I am a believer in the system in that respect, to where there's going to be enough scrutiny put on these cases. You're not going to be able to really hide it if you're.
Same thing with Ezra Miller, and we know. It's pretty clear a lot of that was pretty heavily exaggerated.
And a lot of that, who did a lot of that stuff? Stupid ass fans.
Yeah.
A lot of listen, most of the damage that is done by our brethren, our fan. A lot of the over exaggeration, a lot of the dumb shit, a lot of the misexplaining of shit is done by us. It's done by dumbass fans who run with not even a headline, the scent of a headline, and then they just go from there.
So the whole thing of him grooming that girl wasn't true.
I mean,
like I said, not to my knowledge.
If you have your ear to the ground enough, there's been stuff that's come out that's like, yeah, there's stuff behind the scenes that other people with YouTube platforms have spoken of, where it's like, yeah, there was some very nefarious stuff going on there.
Yeah, no, the reason why I asked that is because it came from the parents that are accusing Ezra of this, so I wasn't sure if I should, but because of the parents.
Well, yeah, and the parents were like I said, there's just so much seedy shit. But yeah, say that's kind of tabloid stuff, to be honest with you. It just really doesn't rise to the level of anything we need to ever be involved in, because it's really just, like I said, it's a lot of he said, she said, hearsay, and people who get headlines. And what do? Us bonehead ass fans listen to the dumbest shit, and we just run with that.
I mean, look
we
what just
don't
happened with all this Aquaman
Yeah.
2 Amber Heard stuff.
Yeah, which is completely like I
that
said,
was weird for me. All that Amber Heard, Johnny Depp stuff was the weirdest shit I've ever seen. Like,
I tried to run away from it as fast as I could. Whenever I saw that, and the same thing I'm going to do with Will Smith and his wife.
Yeah, the best thing to come out of that, the only thing that I took any that I
her for me, the most entertaining is her pooping in the bed.
No, for me, no. I don't even like to think about that. was her lawyer? I never thought I would see like any part of Liar Liar in real life. That's my all-time favorite comedy. But her lawyer objecting to himself. That's like, what the?
Yeah,
mine was how Johnny Depp slept with his own lawyer. Like, that one is crazy to me.
She's hot. I don't know. What do you want me to tell you? We're mammals, man.
No, I know that, but isn't that a conflict of interest? You're sleeping with your own lawyer?
No. It's a conflict of interest if she does something out of ethics in the case. Like, for some reason, she does not properly defend him because of that or something like that. The only thing she's ethically responsible of doing is defending him. If she's his defense attorney, then that's her job, is to defend him, period. She can be banging him.
Because I thought there's laws against it. I thought there's laws against in California or wherever this case was, whatever state this was in.
That would be
lawyers can't sleep with their clients. No,
you got husbands and you got wives that represent their husbands in court cases. They're banging each other. So I mean, I don't think it would, because it has to come under the Fourth Amendment. Is the person getting a fair trial? The only law you'd be violating is that Fourth Amendment. Are you not? Is this person getting the full benefit of your counsel? And are you defending him to the best, or him or her to the best of your ability? If the answer is yes, you can be doing that in between sex, as far as I'm concerned. Get me off.
And Brad, you were talking about the SAG thing.
Yep.
Realistically, when you, like, in your honest opinion, since you probably cover it more than we do, like you're a press person.
Yeah, you can call me a journalist. I mean, that's
a journalist. Well, like people have been saying within the next 3 months. Do you think that's a little bit too optimistic?
I mean, after that statement that SAG put out, I mean, it's like I don't. Yeah, I think I'd want to hedge my bet a little bit more after that, because it seems like there's some serious bitterness between SAG and AMPTP after that. So I would say, like, don't expect any end of this strike to wrap up before the year is out. I mean, that would literally be a Christmas miracle if it ends in December.
Yeah. Ray's asking me, William, do you have an opinion on Mara as a character in terms of her impact on it? I think she wasn't used enough, because all this, I mean, she's a big part of the story, and I think she was misused, and her own personal things got into the way of her being used like she was supposed to be used. So yeah, I think that we were given a handicapped version of what that character was supposed to be. I thought for what she was fine. I mean, she wasn't she wasn't Meryl Streep or anything, but she was fine for that story and fine for that look that they were going for. So.
And would you say Mara and what's her name, Namora, are almost equivalent characters, or are they two separate characters that play two separate roles in the Namor comics and Aquaman comics?
Well, Namora or Namorita?
Both.
Well, Namorita is she's along the lines of him, because she's a human Atlantean.
No, Namora.
Okay, Namora's a blue bud. Okay. What are you asking me? Let me.
I think she's talking about, like, with her minimized role in Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom.
Oh, well, it depends on what storyline. No, because Namora, she's a character. Depending on what kind of story you're telling.
No, in the original Aquaman comics and the original
No, she wasn't minimized. No, no, they were. Okay,
No, I'm saying are they equivalent characters in terms of their role in the comic, in the
yes,
storyline?
yes. As far as their each of their positions, yes, they are. Yeah, that was reflected accurately, in my opinion.
And would you say in the comics, so is it Namorita or Namora that's his cousin?
Namorita is this. Namora is because they've retconned her too. Because she's saying Namora is a full-blooded Atlantean, as far as I know, and Namorita is
His cousin.
She's half human.
Oh, like him?
Yeah, and that's why the whole Nemar's a mutant is bullshit because
We have a concurrent Aquaman and a concurrent Namor conversation going on two fronts, and Williams
I know
handling both, and you're handling them both like a pro, William, a real expert's expert. You got Rhea in the comments asking you mirror questions, you're handling that, and then you got this man asking you every single Namor question known to man, and you're hitting each one. Keep asking the questions, Anthony, because I'm learning right now. I'm learning right now from you.
See, for me, William explains everything. I've asked these questions in other streams that cover comics, and they don't explain it like this. And when I leave those streams, I'm way more confused than I came in.
William answers questions like an old pro that must have owned a comic shop since he was like 18 or something. I can tell. I can see it and I can hear it. He's good.
When you see Namora in the movies, she's a full-blooded Atlantean, right?
No, I don't think
so. As well. Because in the comics, she starts out as a hybrid.
No. In the way they portray her in the movie, it seems like they're mixing Namora in the comics and Namorita because.
Okay, Namorita is a clone, so that's why. They've retconned. I'm reading her history, and they've redone her history a lot. But as far as the one that you saw in the comics, that's in the shows, it's pretty much the same. You have the younger version, Namorita, who ends up being like a monster at the end. But they were both human hybrids. As far as a historical reference, they were both human hybrids. Which, like I said, they're not mutants then. By the way,
I was pissed that they didn't use Atuma more though.
No, Atuma is not someone you would use in that story. You would use Atuma and Namora in more deeper stories when you were going to do a solo movie or you were going to do a movie that's led by him. Those are his enemies. The fact that they were there, because they're actually enemies of his off and on. It's a long, complicated history. But for their introductory along with him, like if you were going to tell an extended story with Namor, you would tell their story as well and how they turn on him because they don't. Once he starts siding with the humans against them, and then he's a half-breed, all this stuff, and it's like I said, it's just it becomes he's faced with the same things that Aquaman was initially faced with when they copied was the fact that how can you be our king when you're half-blood and B you
you're human.
Humans. And like I said, he has special powers and abilities that they don't have. Because of his hybrid, thing, and like I said, that's pretty much it though. But as far as their beginnings, it's a complicated relationship that they have, kind of like with Patrick Willis' character. I mean, Ocean Master is not always Aquaman's enemy, but it's a long, complicated thing. They're brothers, and they're relatives. These are all relatives that are related to each other. It's a complicated thing, and you're talking about royalty too. So
I was gonna say there's court politics going on the whole time as well.
Yeah, and it's weird. You saw everybody but Namor. Their face turned blue when they got up to the surface when they were fighting Wakanda, the Wakandan warriors. But Namor was the only one that his face didn't get affected by the oxygen from the world above and stuff like that.
Because of the fact that he's a half human and half Atlantean. That's pretty much why it is. The blue hue never affects Namor at all because of the oxygenation of his blood. is different. He processes blood in two different ways, where they process it in one way, and it has to do with the color they hue that they used in the movies to explain that. In the comics, you just have blue Atlanteans. All Atlanteans are blue. If they are pink skinned Atlanteans, that means they were hybrids, that they were half human and half Atlantean. That's what Namorita and Namora and Namor are all, and which is why, like I said, he's not a mutant. No matter, I don't care fuck what you put on the comic book, he's not a mutant, because his mutation is a trait that is carried by more than one thing. It's a trait. It's a predictable
That had to
trait.
piss you off when they made him a mutant in the comic, part of the X-Men.
Yeah, it was stupid. It was the only reason they did that, and I was around when they did that. They did that in September 1990, and I was a sophomore in high school, and I would debate people. I'm like, this is not true, and it's like, well, yeah, he's a mutant. It's like, no, he's not, because any mutation like which you are dictating in Marvel Comics is a spontaneous, random effect that your genes have because of a random mutation. If Namor was the only one with wings on his feet and light skin and could live on land, all that would be one thing. You could say he's a mutant, which is bullshit. But when you have two other people that from that same union and that have the same traits, and you could make the logical assumption that every human mate and Atlantean are going to have the same trait, that is no longer a mutation. That is a trait. That is an identifiable. It's like if I met up with an Asian lady, you can predict that there are Asian features that my child is going to have. That's not a mutation. That's not a random. And that if every Asian woman
that's
that
genetics
is going to have that those same features. It's not different.
No,
and then he has a Swedish baby named Lars Alexander pop out.
And during the spoiler review, I asked William this question. I had a theory in that spoiler review that I said, Spider-Man, that to me what they're setting up is in the future movies, when they introduce Storm in the next Black Panther movie, Black Panther 3, I think his son that they introduce is gonna be the, not T'Challa, but his son is gonna be the one dating and getting married to, in the MCU, she's gonna be the one dating and getting married to
Storm.
Yeah, to Storm. So
yeah, I could see that. Possibly,
I think they're gonna retcon his kid out of existence as soon as his first chance that they get.
Why? Jesus, William, you
no,
hate
it throws everything off. If they're trying to set up the Secret Wars, Black Panther is a main character in that setup. And whichever way they cut it, and they were setting him up to be the takeover from Captain America and Iron Man. If Chad Boseman was still alive, he probably would have been kind of the leader,
de facto
leader, just because he would have carried over between the transition. I think that
but now since he passed away, I think they're going to retcon everything. I think they're going to mix everything up, and they're going to give you a Black Panther from another universe, realign the universes. Voila, we're going to have a Black Panther. So yeah, I don't think.
And this is why I said it in the Patreon stream earlier, that I feel that in general, Marvel Comics and the movies use the multiverse as a crutch instead of a way to build stories up and stuff like that. Am I being too harsh, William?
No, not a crutch. They just use it as a storyline device. And it's like I said, the difference between DC and Marvel using multiverses and alternate verses is that it's a part of DC's existence, whereas whenever Marvel uses it, it's a plot device to try to divert.
I get that point you're making, William, but he's specifically saying the MCU, and I can see maybe not even just as a crutch, but to a general audience situation that may not understand, the ins and outs of the multiverse from a comic standpoint, or it might not catch on. It might for the older people and the younger people and the people who aren't necessarily like into it as much, but they're coming in, coming on a date or whatever like that. What happens to the stakes when you're watching a Spider-Man movie with 3 Spider-Men? What happens to the stakes if the Xmen died off the last 2 movies ago and now they're back? What happens to the stakes from these people's point of view? Not us as the comic fan, not us understanding that DC has the multiverse and Marvel has the multiverse, but these movies, people are maybe beginning
coming in blind.
But you have to pace it and use it sparingly, though, and that's the
Yeah.
thing that I don't think you're gonna. The multiverse is not a permanent thing for Marvel. It is a point that they're gonna reach to reset what they want to do and consolidate what they want involved and what they no longer want to use. After that, after you reset that prime timeline, I think that's it. It's over. Whereas DC could use it as concurrently as they've done it.
And did
it
you
would
say,
end up
William?
being the same
Did you
as the
say you
comics
guys
anyways.
feel that the supernatural MCU is not going to be introduced till Phase 7 or Phase 8?
They started Werewolf by Night. I mean,
we got Doctor Strange, we got Werewolf by Night, we got Man Thing. Plus, like I said, Phase 7, I'll be like 95 years old. So.
Oh, I was gonna say Creature Commandos. That's DC.
Yeah, that's DC. That's a Blue Beetle for me.
That's come on, William. That's gonna be the first cartoon you're gonna catch in a long time. Because there's not gonna be anything else new coming.
Well, it's gonna be it's a series anyway. So
that's a series. I got plenty of stuff to watch.
Have you ever watched that Harley Quinn show, William? What did you think about it?
For what it is, it's hilarious.
Yeah. There's a lot of nice little references in there.
Marvel has an equivalent to the Creature Commandos, correct, William?
Not that I can think of specifically, but it is 12:35 in the morning. So
Daniel Martin, yes, Werewolf by Night is great. Please watch it. It's great.
Yeah, and they got a color version
sweet.
coming out. They got a color version coming out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're gonna read. It's the same version, but it's color. I think it was cool, black and white. All right, guys, we've gone probably the longest overnighter I've ever done. So
yeah,
I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up and let you guys, you East Coasters, go to bed. And I'm going
your Blue Beetle finally tomorrow. So
actually Blue Beetle 5 o'clock. I'll set that up when I get home.
Later, you too.
So you guys will. All right, see you later, everybody. So we'll have. I'll put that link into the chat room, and then we'll go from there. But right now, I've been going hard for about 15 hours, and I need to go eat and go to sleep while get ready for my fantasy football, and get back up tomorrow and do this all over again. But I will not ever forget this on these type of streams because it is tired. I am late. My eyelids are heavy and I'm ran down, but this is that time. Like I always tell you, these early morning times in the day or night where everything is not moving, everything is still. And the only thing moving is those bad thoughts that may or may not cause you to harm yourself. In the event that happens to you, 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, 24/7, call, text, chat. It's there. It's there for a reason. And if you are the reason, please use it. Do not become a statistics. All right, Brad, where can I find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter, Vero. Also find me occasionally on Facebook, and you can find my writing on Kung Fu Kingdom and on Screen Rant. And yeah, you can see me here on Saturday nights, and you've definitely seen a lot of me this last week. I'll be dropping in for Blue Beetle tomorrow, and I'm here going to be covering the strike for the foreseeable future too.
Woohoo! All right, guys. Thank you guys for being here. I'm sorry I did not get to everybody's questions and chats. Like I said, I wasn't able to get everything, and I figured throwing the link in the chat. Anybody? I
think we covered about everything we possibly could between the Patreon stream and tonight.
Yeah, I mean,
that's like we
had
did a pretty clean.
You literally had me for 5 hours today, guys. You had me for 5 hours.
Yeah,
you're gonna get me for another 2 or 3 tomorrow. So
yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for being here, and I will see you today at 5 p.m. for Blue Beetle.
Later, guys.